Hello and welcome to TNA Top 10. Today is October 7th, 2024. I'm T Weave. With me, as always, are Allison Faye and Andrew. But today we're joined by somebody else, the champion of last year's TNA Bowl Pick'em, the leader, maybe, of this year's college football Pick'em. We'll find out in the second hour. All around know it all, wrestling fan, football fan. I hear he took his own notes for tonight. He can't trust
Nice.
ours. Welcome to the show, Bryant Haremza.
Well, thank you for having me on. I trust your notes, but I wanted to make sure I was just as prepared for everything for tonight, and try to keep up with you guys on the show. But thank you again for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming.
Your lips ever get chapped from all that ass kissing you do?
Well, that's why you got to buy those multi
him?
packs, just to keep up.
There you go. There you
Here we go. It's starting already. I should probably share the fact we're live on Facebook, shouldn't I?
Yeah, that's what I was just looking for. I was gonna go share it now.
Yeah, and I was telling them in the private chat. I don't know what you guys saw before I hit the video, but I think there was 2 or 3 seconds. If anybody happened to be on there, of me just looking like an idiot. So,
Do we have a private chat? I thought I'd just read those comments out loud.
You can if you want.
Maybe.
Oh, Terry. So
So
how's
where are we
everyone?
going with this thing? Which direction are we going? Allison Faye, you got to be pissed about something.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and get into it.
Okay. Now you guys know that I can't stand to be late. Okay.
Oh
This
my
is
God.
Andrew laughs about this all the time. Okay. I believe if you're on time, you're late. Okay. That's the way I am. It's the way I've always been. We all know I'm quirky, whatever. But I go to back meetings all day at work. Okay. I end all my meetings 5 minutes before the hour because I know everybody has back to back meetings all day at work. When I have half of a meeting not show up for 15 minutes because somebody else had a meeting and didn't want to, say, hey, we'll come back to this, whatever. They're all like, why didn't you stay on the meeting? Bitch, you didn't show up. Like, I'm sorry. Would you like me to do your job too? I'm sorry. I shouldn't speak out of turn, but like, my time is just as valuable as your time. Show up if you're gonna, and if you can't, send me a quick note. Sorry, can't make it. But then don't get mad that I decided to move on and keep working on something else.
If I'm in a meeting for 30 seconds by myself that I called into,
Oh, you're worse than I am. I give the old college 5. Like, you get
And
5
I'm worse
minutes.
than both of you because I believe 98% of meetings should have been a fucking email.
I
Number
don't read
two.
emails, Andrew.
Number two, Allison, I want to paint a picture properly for our audience about this tardiness thing. This is a compulsion. So she has TSA pre-check, and we still have to get on an early morning flight, which nobody's going to be on because of the day we chose, and we still have to get up and be at the hotel 3 hours before the plane even thinks about taking off. Well, it's Atlanta. Something might happen. We get there. She's in and out in 14 minutes through security. She's going to sit there and wait for 3 hours. That is not me. That is not me. As we learned on the Vegas trip,
No,
I
that's
was
not
from
you.
my car through security in less than 20 minutes and sat less than 30 to wait for the plane. So that's how you properly do
No,
things.
I can't. The
And I was still on time.
anxiety just hearing you say that is too much for me.
No,
I get there early just so I can eat something at the airport.
Right.
See, here's my thing. Fuck that, because apparently, if you eat at the airport, it all of a sudden is worth 15 times its proper value.
You can't
I don't
hide
look at
money,
the prices.
Andrew.
Yeah.
You can't hide money.
Brian, where are you at on tardiness? And what is your personal tardiness level like, plus meetings? Because you are a guest here, so you need to tell us.
For meetings, it's different because I hate meetings anyway. So, but I am very big on, if I'm there like, if it's not a meeting I'm hosting, I'm there like right before it starts just because I don't want to sit through all that rigmarole of just stupid nonsense. And the flying part, I don't know that. I've truthfully never flown on an airplane before. And I don't know the airport experience. I'm not a fan of it. But for me, for meeting wise, if I'm hosting a meeting, I expect you there like at least minimum 5 minutes beforehand. I mean, just to kind of make sure you're at least or around where we're going. I just want to make sure people are there. But I just avoid meetings altogether if I can. I avoided 2 of them today, just myself. So.
Oh, jealous. I'm jealous.
I'm telling you. I just send me an email. I will read
Exactly.
it. I will respond to it. Send me an email.
I will not.
Exactly.
Terry will not. Terry will not read it, and he sure as hell won't respond to it. And then when you come up to him in 10 days and ask him, hey, I've sent you an email and 3 follow-ups to it. Why haven't you replied? His answer is?
I haven't gotten to it yet. Oh, here's what's even better than that at work. I'm like, my account gets locked, and I'm like, what the hell? Out of the blue, I can't log into my account. And I've been getting emails about it for 2 weeks.
And he's not going to be able to log into the email account eventually.
Right.
If Terry takes a screenshot and shows me how many unread things he has on his phone, it would probably give me just a complete horrific panic attack.
It's
I've
coronary
improved. It used to
stroke
be in
level.
thousands.
Yeah.
So you've got to respond like right away, Allison? Like right away?
That's how I am. That's if I don't, I'll forget about it.
I currently have 10 unread emails, and it's only because they've happened in the last 15 minutes.
Whatever I've got is,
The other thing about email is it's so convenient to simply just delete, because most of that stuff I'm going to delete anyway. I'm not even going to read it. I'm just going to. But anyway.
Let's talk
Swiping.
about
Speaking of
sports.
swiping and swiping bases.
Yes.
I even have
The
a graphic for this.
Look at this.
Unmuted. There we go. Yeah, and I even if you'll notice, you've been watching us. I have made the graphics bigger so you can read stuff. I was worried about this one being way too small.
No.
So let's run it down.
It's like you're a professional at this, sir.
I'm not getting paid, so technically I'm not. But on the right side, you notice, as I said, the Braves are going to make it to the playoffs and get swept. And they did. So the Padres are with the Dodgers here in the division series, tied 1-1. Stinking Mets. I mean, that series there, the Mets and Phillies, that is the Braves fans' worst nightmare. It's tied 1-1. And why don't you guys tell me about the American League?
Well, game 2 is happening right now for the Yankees and KC, and both Andrew and I, that's why you see our eyes keep doing that if you're watching the video one. But Andrew, you want to give us a recap of game 1?
Okay, so Kansas City, Baltimore. Baltimore, probably the team the Yankees didn't want to see, gets beat 2 straight. I mean, they get beat 2 straight.
I was really surprised at that one.
Same.
That one was a little shocking. Houston losing 2 straight to Detroit, also a little bit shocking.
But everybody loved it.
But everybody loves it. And
Yeah,
Cleveland
no complaints.
sucks, and they lost today to Detroit. Kansas City went down 1-0. It was a 7-6 game. This is more proof that you cannot rely on. I mean, if you hold the Yankees to 5, you might win. You might win a ball game if you can hold them to 5 runs, because they're going to score. Right now, they got one on 42 pitches already, and we're in the 3rd inning or
second inning.
Yikes.
Second inning.
Is that the 2nd?
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's bad. So this is these
for
are best
us.
of 5s. Kansas City, New York. Right now they're in New York because they're wearing the pinstripes, but they'll travel to Kansas City after this one, I believe.
Correct.
Do they do Do they do the 2-2-1? Is that what we're doing in this particular sequence?
Yep.
Is 2-2-1?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because then they do the goofy shit for the
Yes.
7 series. Where
Yes,
it's
they do.
1, 3, 2,
Yeah,
1,
they used
whatever.
to do 2-3-2, but I get why they changed it because they
Yeah.
didn't want the underdog to have 3 of the first 5, but it takes forever. It's
It
kind of like
does.
basketball.
Because then
The
they
good-
got to schedule the travel days in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The good news for God's teams fans, that would be 2 of the 4 of us anyway, is that the Yankees have the best record against the AL Central of anybody combined this year. The bad news is Judge is not hitting well, and everybody's making a big deal about it. So I expect him to start hitting home runs here anytime. San Diego, LA is going to 5, and it's going to get stupid along the way. If you all saw the game last night, 9-minute delay because they were throwing shit onto the field.
Yeah.
In
I was
Los
listening on
Angeles.
the radio. I wish I would have been watching it, but
They're a
Okay.
class act in LA. I thought the Phillies fans were bad. They're not really until they win something, then they just burn the city to the ground. But the LA fans were throwing tantrum last night. San Diego wins 10-2. To Terry's point, as he said, for much of the last month and a half, San Diego is a very dangerous baseball team if you're playing them.
yeah,
Very
you don't want to
dangerous
play them
baseball.
right now. Bryant, do you have a team? Do you follow baseball much?
I follow baseball, but I don't follow a team
Okay.
because I've tried, but every team I follow is terrible. So I just follow players a lot.
I get that.
I was a
Colorado
Royals fan when they-
Rockies, Minnesota Twins,
Yeah.
St. Louis Cardinals.
where I live, I'm right between Rockies fans and Royals fans.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Rockies haven't been relevant since 2007.
Mhm.
And the Royals, I mean, they get hot and cold, which is nice, but
Mhm.
I just like watching baseball. I don't really root for anybody. I just enjoy players like Aaron Judge. I love watching him play. So that's why the Royals Yankees series intrigues me quite a bit. But
Yeah.
I
I
just
will
enjoy
say
watching, so
Kauffman Stadium is probably one of the nicer stadiums I've actually been to.
yes.
Yeah.
Really, really enjoyed it.
I
always
I
tell-
actually thought they were in Kansas City tonight. And I was
Ah,
like,
no,
man, that
yeah.
had to be tough with the Monday night game and the Yankee game right next door. Like,
Whew,
I was like, that'd be interesting.
that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, and the
well,
Mets, Terry, they're
Mets.
probably not a
No.
team you want to play right now either. I think they have the best record in baseball since the All-Star break.
What?
Somebody will check me
That's
on
not
that.
possible.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
It's the Mets.
Stupid Mets.
I don't know what to tell you.
I mean,
They
we can
keep-
all agree nobody likes the Mets, right?
They
I mean,
keep winning.
I mean,
and the other thing before we move on, because I'll let Allison finish up the segment shitting on the Mets. Otani hit his first home run the other night.
oh,
game
no
one.
way.
And it was the 3-run homer. And when he hit the ball, he channeled his inner Dominican guy because he threw that bat like it was his job, Terry. I'm not sure how many women in LA ended up pregnant,
I was
but
just going to ask.
but he threw the bat, and he threw the bat like it was his job. And the Dodgers are going to be a hard out, but San Diego that's a tough baseball team right now. Oh, and your man is hurt. The guy that went from the Braves to the Dodgers.
Freeman, yeah.
Freeman is
yeah.
hurt. Yeah, Freeman is hurt. So
Yeah.
and Mookie Betts was not looking. Something was happening with him too.
Oh, no.
Mhm.
So not
Oh,
looking.
yeah. That's
great.
what started the whole thing. Betts hit a ball, I guess, to right field, and Jurickson Profar fooled everybody, and they played
Oh, he
music
robbed
and
him. And then-
everything, and he robbed the home run and faked it out, and he was kind of jawing with the fans. And then later on in the game, they started throwing crap at him.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, they stopped the game for 9 minutes, and he was throwing a damn tantrum out on the field, like full blown tantrum on the field.
Goodness.
The other thing is, none of these games look like they'll get canceled from a hurricane, but everybody stay safe because that's a big bastard
Yeah.
coming to
Yes.
Florida.
Absolutely.
So, your last comment on the Mets, man, before we move to the wrestling, because I know
The-
Bryant knows about that. Terry didn't watch shit, but What about the Mets?
I did. this
What?
time.
Yeah, there we go.
I watched it today.
I can't shit on the Mets when you're from Long Island. It's kind of like,
the most magical place on earth,
well, yeah,
so I've heard.
but like you grow up liking both the Mets, the Yankees, then you pick one that you have an allegiance to. I never hated the Mets. Shea Stadium was one of my favorite places to go. I loved Shea Stadium, and now I think Citi Field is just as good, if not better. It's got great architecture, which I love. So I
They
love
don't
to
have a
walk
big
around.
giant apple popping up out of the
Yeah.
big black nothing.
Yeah,
do
they
they?
do.
They do.
They still
brought
have
that
the
over?
apple.
Okay, never mind. I don't.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? That was like the greatest thing of my childhood.
I know. Okay, never mind. I
Okay.
might edit that part out for not.
No, don't. It's all good.
No, leave it in.
But-
Because we have, because when we have the football show, I have a list of corrections. So,
Well, I'm going to segue us to wrestling by saying nothing warms my heart more than sending Andrew text messages just to rile him up so Bad Blood this weekend. What'd you think of that CM Punk match? Ooh.
Rude. You're rude. I'm going to
my
be
best
polite
friend.
host and let our guest go first about the CM Punk
go
match.
ahead.
Bad Blood.
Well, and I think this is the part where I antagonize Andrew more. As a CM Punk fan for well over 20 years now, that was, to me, the main event of the show. Like, that was the match I was looking the most forward to. It had the best story going in. Like, I just think there was so much to it. And I not that, you need it every once in a while, but the look of Drew with the blood just running down his face, that just added so much more to the match that WWE's been lacking a lot lately. But I just thought it was a great match. I genuinely thought Drew broke his back on the Claymore when he hit the stairs. Right. But I loved it. I thought it was a fantastic match.
So I agree. I thought it was match of the night, if you ask me. It was my favorite of the night. It was, as Bober pointed out, extremely bloody.
Yes.
So, yeah, all right, I could have done without that. But to me, it added to the intenseness of the match. So I had no issues.
I thought it was the best match of the night, and from a card standpoint, based on what they did in the main event, could have been the main event, should have been the main event. They deserved it. They earned it. Not a CM Punk fan. Drew carried much of this rivalry for the last 7 or 8 months, and they still made it relevant with Punk unable to wrestle. So, he did well. Obviously, he looked well. I say obviously. It looks like he's probably moving on to Gunther at some point once they get past this nonsense in Saudi with Cody and Gunther and Liv and we haven't talked about that.
Well, let me just say this. I was completely shocked that we had a segment talking about Saudi Arabia and it included Bill Goldberg. I mean, that was so unexpected.
Yeah, Goldberg sucks. Don't put him in there with Gunther. I mean, seriously.
Please.
But maybe there was a little bit of a swerve there, at least. We may not be seeing that. I don't know.
Yeah, well, hopefully not, because Sammy's wrestling Gunther tonight on the debut of Raw, the 2-hour debut of Raw, rather. But no, the Punk match was fine. Nothing was forced. Things looked natural. Drew could have won, and it would have been fine. Punk won, whatever. So the hatred is, I said it earlier today. I was talking to somebody else about this. It's like Palpatine. My hatred for CM Punk was like that of Emperor Palpatine for the Jedis in the Republic.
I'm curious about something, Andrew. One more thing before we move on to the next match. I actually watched it this time, but
I love the fact that you actually watched it.
Yeah, obviously the bracelet thing is a big theme here, but there was like a gruesome bump right after he poured this big bag of beads on him or whatever, and the announcer, I don't know if it was Michael Cole, but was really making a big deal out of, oh, he poured beads on him. That's so symbolic, blah, blah, blah. To me, I'm just like, it's kind of fucking stupid. What was your thought?
Yeah. So I thought they did really well because this was a traditional Hell in a Cell match. Went 40+ minutes. You got the violence. They didn't get out of the cage, thank God. Okay, that I was happy to see. They brought back a painted cage that's not red, but you could still see where they had the proper reinforcements and all the other stuff. To your point, that was the stupidest part of the match, was the beads. Because, and we're getting a little too gimmicky in wrestling that way. Mm-hmm. Jericho dropped the croquet balls in one of the matches for the FTW title. We've had Legos. We've got these stupid beads. I could give a shit about the beads. But I will say about this match, because I'm going to make my joke. I got to get my shit in and we'll move on. It was only rated 3.25 stars by Dave Meltzer.
Oh, yeah.
But that's because it had a storyline that went almost a year, and it didn't have a syringe. So if it had a syringe involved in this match, it would have been 5 stars. But the reality of the matter is Dave Meltzer just hates WWE wrestling, so it's never going to be rated as high as AEW. But this is, to me, one of the best matches professional wrestling of the year. And we've had some really good ones. Yeah. If you think back to WrestleMania with Rock and Roman and Cody and who the hell was his tag partner?
Seth.
Thank you. Seth, yeah. So, anyway, What's the next match? What was it?
Nia
forget.
Jax and Bailey.
Nia and Bailey. This one didn't get rated very well by the other people, wrestling people, but I thought it was fine. I thought they had a couple obviously bad spots.
It was fine. I would have loved to seen Tiffany cash in.
No, they got to tease it. They're doing the Virgil thing with her. They'll make
are
her
they?
Virgil. Yeah, like where she's finally
Oh.
going to stand up to Nia Jax like $1 Million Man, back in the 90s.
That's a good idea.
They haven't built enough heat for her yet. But it was funny when she got caught, like red-handed.
Yep. I mean, the
But I
match
thought the match-
itself, yeah.
Worst spot was when they tried the Hurricane Rana. And like her leg she
Yeah.
flipped. I said,
Bailey
whoop,
trying to-
you weren't supposed to
Bailey
do
trying
that.
Bailey trying to save it was just the best part because it's like I got to do something and just roll.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it was hilarious.
But the finish again, off the second rope, Samoan drop, bonsai drop. I mean, emphatic, arms crossed, staring down the camera. The problem they have, I think WWE has a problem with women's wrestling, like the rosters right now, because they've got Rhea Ripley, and they've got a couple others, and they got everybody else, and they've got to find a way to get those everybody else to come up to be able to be believable against the champions. Even Liv Morgan, who we're going to talk about in a minute, they've got to find a way to make these competitive matches where they enhance the lower level women.
I'll tell you what scares me. If you look at the NXT class right now, to me, they're all these little tiny women. And I'm like, what good is that going to do? I'm glad you're acrobatic. I'm glad, you look pretty and whatever, but I want to see some wrestling, and I'm too afraid you're going to get broke. So
Well, and Rhea Ripley is a much more talented Chyna in that she's got the ability to wrestle men and women. The problem WWE has is they've got to be very careful with the way they present the women against her, because otherwise you end up doing the Chyna thing at the end of her run where she just mowed everybody down, and there was no if Chyna was on the card, she was going to win. There was no questions there.
It's kind of like the Goldberg Street. I mean, what are you going to do with it? Yeah.
But
I mentioned Goldberg twice already. Shut me up.
Stop it. You're not here. We're not there for that. What about Finn Balor and Damian Priest? That was the third match.
predictable.
Very
I like the
predictable.
brutality of Damian Priest. Once in a while, something's just power with him.
Yeah.
And I enjoy that part of the matches.
I agree with
It was
that.
good.
I don't know what they're trying to rebrand Finn Balor into. I mean, I'm here for it always, but it's just not. I don't want to say it's not doing it for me, but I'm just like,
He seems like he's a stand-in guy as the representative against Damian Priest, right?
Yes.
And that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't see him really standing out as anything other than that.
Well, Finn Balor has signed his lifetime contract. He's going to finish his career with WWE. It's probably in the millions of dollars that he's going to get paid, and he's going to do whatever they need him to do to make it. Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to say politely, Mike. Is he's a glorified jobber at this point. This is a former leader of the Bullet Club, the originator of the Bullet Club, the world champion.
Yep.
Who since the injuries has been pushed down to the mid card or upper mid card. Damian Priest looks better without the title. That may not be a popular opinion, but he was not a good world champ. That first run was not good for him.
I think
it's on
that's the
right-
key right there. First run. I definitely think we will see him again as champion.
Well, it's also Gunther's first run, and he looks like he owns that championship.
Yeah,
so,
Yes, he does.
Fair point.
But yeah, I thought the match was fine. I honestly thought my feeling was Priest needed to win and move on. But there were people, and it was even on our Ram Network pre-show that said, well, they can build it to Survivor Series. They could. They didn't. But I hope they do a clean separation from it and move Judgment Day on to something else in this
Yeah, I agree.
particular case.
Yes.
Bryant, your thought on the match? Because we're not trying to leave you out. You're just being
No,
very
you're
quiet.
good. No, you're good. Well, I just want to start off by saying Finn Balor's dreamy as hell.
Thank you.
I do want to start with that, but I agree. I think you need to. You got the rivalry. To me, it's done. Like you need to get Damian Priest moved on. You have Finn Balor as the tag team champions. That the tag titles, as always seems to happen, mean nothing. So let's try and build a tag division on Raw, get Finn Balor and JD McDonough going with that, and just separate these two things, separate them all. I think that's what you need to do right now is just clean break, get everybody going something different.
Yeah. I totally agree with that.
I would definitely agree with that. But then we saw match 4, which means we may not get a clean break because
No.
mommy loses to Liv Morgan with the help of Raquel Rodriguez.
Yes.
No
in a
complaints here.
Bad spot, but I
Well,
thought the shark cage thing was cool where Dom ended up coming out of it upside down.
Or
That
falls
was
out
fun.
upside down. That was great.
in 100 years, I would not have guessed they would have done that. So I loved it. Like, I did not see him dangling by his leg.
No.
So when
Yeah,
is
that-
the Dom on a pole match coming?
Yeah, it was. Well, now though they've successfully moved Liv out of the picture to put Raquel in the picture for
Yes.
Saudi
Yes.
Arabia, or because
Well-
you can have Rhea and Raquel at Saudi Arabia and or Survivor Series, because you are going to have Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax,
Nia Jax,
as of right
yes.
now.
Yep.
Good
Yeah,
luck.
don't- But
Um,
the thing about Raquel versus Rhea, you look at the two of them, and you know they're going to have a good match. Like, I think they are
Yes.
well matched in terms of size, demeanor, technical movements. Like, they're pretty good, and they both move fast, which I love to watch. So,
Well, I've said it before on this show, and I'm sure you've all heard me say it, and I'll say it again. Rhea Ripley's the best women's wrestler in the world.
yeah, absolutely.
And it's not close. And she's got the best opportunity in my mind to be just a wrestler, not the best women's wrestler, but one of the best wrestlers in the world. Her presentation is fantastic. Now, in Saudi, she won't get the benefit of her presentation. She'll have to be covered up. So
Right.
that's going to make some difference in the way that she carries herself there. But from the standpoint of the total package, she can talk, she can work.
She can do it all.
Great
Mhm.
movement, great strength, and to your point, believability. You know, can they present a way? Because the way that they're done it is Liv picks her spots and it works, but they're going to have to be creative with any person they put in the ring with Rhea Ripley. That she's just not going to eat them alive,
Yeah, agreed.
and that's the trick. That's going to be the trick. But they need to put the title back. I don't see her not going into WrestleMania without the championship.
I do.
Some Survivor Series might be a little early, but Rumble
Yeah.
in Indianapolis, they could put it on her there.
How long do
But
we
she-
think they give Jade before they start injecting her into this whole thing?
I think you see Jade and Bianca at Mania.
Agreed.
Versus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Singles match
absolutely.
at Mania.
I am still probably in the minority in this, but I don't think Rhea gets the title back because I think you're building to the WrestleMania match of Rhea versus Dom. I think that's where we're going. So I don't think she gets the title back because they want her to be
Interesting.
I'd
have
pay
that
money
big
for
match,
that.
big stage. There's your payoff. You've been waiting this long for it, and it's your WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
mean, it's going to be a fun match. Last one, Cody, Roman. 27 minutes worth of entrances, taking on the Bloodline B team. This was a fun match for me because I love Roman Reigns. But where the fuck is Paul Heyman?
Yeah, again, that was the only bad thing I had to say really about this match was I kept waiting and waiting. I laughed so hard because I'm like, oh, nobody has a belt. Maybe, Heyman's going to come out with a belt, but then I realized he had a belt.
Well, and that's the thing. Like you said, Paul's not there. To me, it's like every one of these guys can wrestle and put on a show,
Yeah.
but the entertainment value is so much less without Paul there.
100%.
Well, and there are people that are like really hard on Solo, and I think he's fine. But Jacob Fatu, as predicted last week, was the star of this match again. He is so good, and they're gonna get him to dance with Roman at some point, and it's gonna be good. Of course, Roman's gonna win. Now, I want to ask you all. Match was slow being there. Okay. That does not shock me because it went 40 minutes
Yeah.
from Bell to The Rock's entrance at the end of it. Did Roman need to win this match? I have my own opinion, but I'm asking the three of you. Did Roman and Cody need to win this match?
No,
I don't think so.
I actually expected it to be a DQ finish. Like I expected the Tongans to hit and it get thrown out.
That's true. That makes sense. I mean, this is just a step along the way. I don't know that it mattered a whole lot who won it.
To me, it was a
Yeah, I'm with
prelude
Terry
to The
on that.
Rock coming out.
I'm with Terry on that. The fact it didn't necessarily matter who won it, but they weren't going to beat Roman his first match back.
Well, that's true.
Not
point.
since Mania.
Good
So
point.
that's where I think that sometimes as wrestling fans we get caught up in it all. Wait a minute, guys. He's a bigger attraction than Cody Rhodes. Who came out first for the team and who came out second?
Yeah.
And who got the bigger cheer in Atlanta? Mike Whitaker, answer that for us. You were there live. Cody or Roman? And my answer would be Roman based on the reaction. But Mike might have a different opinion because he was there live, and thank you for being here, buddy. Last things, The Rock comes out, did nothing. This is where I said I think they could have still put that match first, Hell in a Cell last, and got the same outcome because The Rock did nothing.
Well,
Did nothing.
so I'm going to be devil's advocate here. And by the way, Whitaker did confirm that Roman got the bigger pop. But I am going to say with The Rock, the way they've been promoting, building, everything with him, it's all been off the screen. It's been social media only. So that really didn't surprise me. When we saw the promo afterwards, I was like, there you go. That's what this was for. Not to see him on screen. It was to everybody going to go look for his promo because they know he's going to drop one.
Yeah, I
They're
have
doing
comments
such a good
to that
job
when we
with
get
the
to
social media and
Oh,
how
God,
they
yeah.
how they played this. You know, especially the other thing we got in the notes here, if we want to move on to that or not. But you know, they're playing the fans there. They know the fans are going to put stuff out there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They did a
Absolutely.
masterful job of planning that.
Well,
That
let's
was
definitely talk about the other thing.
That
Okay.
was perfection. Kevin Owens, for those of you that were sleeping
Yeah.
under a rock these days, Kevin Owens jumping Cody outside of his bus, relying on fans to shoot the video. There
Yep.
were no lights, there was no mics, there was no production. All you had was raw cell phone footage from fans that were around. Now, of course, you guys know they made it loud enough or whatever for it to get someone's attention. That's brilliant
Yeah,
on the part of
absolutely.
Triple H and
Absolutely.
his team. I'm not saying Triple H suggested this. Whoever did, though, in the production department, give them a pat on the back because what they're doing with social media is so much further ahead, and this is shit Vince would have never allowed. He would have it would have had to be so neat and sanitary and perfect, and Vince would have never let them shoot. Because if you guys saw it on Twitter, even there were multiple people that put videos out, and then they all got retweeted. So I mean, there are multiple angles of this and everything. I thought it was really
Good
well
stuff.
done. I think it was really smart, and I don't think it was a risk. And here's why: you got the video you needed. That's all you needed. You didn't even need a good video. You just needed enough to see something happen. The other thing is you got fans invested now. Something's going to happen. We need to be ready all the time at a live event that we might see something that we're not, you know.
That's
you
a
have-
very good point, Andrew.
So now you have reinvestment from the fans because now we're part of the show again. It's not just that we're cheering or we're singing or when Roman does his whoa, when he does the spear, you know, that sort of thing, the Pavlovian dog response. Now you have another means to bring people back into professional wrestling. People being the fans, the ones that pay the bills.
Absolutely. Any more thoughts on this, Bryant? Overall, or
I
Yankees
love
up
it.
1-0, Terry. Shit, don't give me that. 1-0.
I love it. I agree with you guys. I think it draws in and it makes you want to see more. Like you want to be that guy who's a part of something, who's a part of that experience of, oh, I got the one video or I was there. You know, title changes at house shows used to be a huge thing and they've completely gone away from that. And this kind of brings that back. It makes you want to be a part of it. You know,
You're humble enough to not say it, but I will. The Vince McMahon photo came from this man right here.
Yes.
At a live
oh
event.
man, I forgot about that.
That
That should have been in the intro.
that is
Yeah.
true. Yes.
Also,
Was it a Raw show? Was it Raw?
Yep. It
right?
was Raw. Yep. It was Raw.
After
Yep.
the lawsuit, right, where he had come
They-
back.
Yeah, they had announced the allegation. The lawsuit had happened, and he came out to do the whole just try to get the pop, and that was when he came out and jumping off the stairs took a got a picture, and it went everywhere.
Yeah. And Brian also taught everybody what seats to buy at your live wrestling event.
Yes,
Uh,
the perfect seats.
It's crazy.
But-
Front row is so much better than second row. I have learned over the last
Yes.
few years. I would get second or third row thinking it's good enough, but
It's not.
It's not.
you don't get that moment with Sting like I got with him staring in my eyes and holding my hands.
I love you.
Okay, I didn't do well with
All right.
that, but you don't get that anyway.
Speaking of AEW,
Oof.
Yes.
I have a couple points about this. Run it down for us, Allison.
oh, me? All right. Well,
You're the AEW fan.
sure.
I admittedly hate watch like I'm Jim Cornette.
So I'm going to go off your notes, so thank you. It looks like AEW has brokered a new deal as breaking news came from Variety magazine. 3 years with a 4th-year option. $85 million. Wait, this doesn't... Oh, $585 million total. Oh my goodness, $185 million per year. They're going to offer the pay-per-views or the PLEs on Max at a discounted rate. Dynamite and Collision will be available to stream on Max. It doesn't include Ring of Honor. And yeah, I would agree that this is probably going to be the end of Rampage. Thoughts?
Brian
I
is
think
our
at a
guest.
distance-
Gary has
Yeah, go
not
ahead.
talked a lot. So you guys go first.
I was just going to point out at a discounted rate. I'm curious what that means.
$10.
It came right out of the story, by the way. That was a quote. I should have put it in
Yeah.
quotes,
Right.
but they said at
Right.
a discounted rate.
My deal is I get them all on Peacock on the other side, so you're a little bit closer, but you should have went the whole way. Just a criticism there. Right.
My thing is, if you're going to make them go on Max, you're clearly wanting that subscription, which is what WWE does with Peacock. You get the subscription, but they tie the PLE into the subscription, making me pay extra on top of that
Yeah.
subscription.
Yeah.
You're gonna kill you're not gonna get a lot of buys that way with it. I think
So
this is a good thing. Do away with Rampage. Rampage is a complete nothing show at this point. Half the time I forget it's even on Fridays until I start seeing social media. But to know that he fought so hard, always talking about Ring of Honor and got nothing with it, kind of shows you what they think of Ring of Honor, because the brand's dead. It's been dead since he bought it. And, to try to keep going for a deal just makes no sense. They got a good deal with what they've got, but there's so much more they could have had that they didn't get.
So I'm about to push back on Brian here. They got 185 for 3 years, and apparently it's going to go up in the 4th year, that sort of thing. They lost basketball. So there's not a live sport on TBS outside of baseball. They've lost basketball. They did not leverage the fact that they've lost basketball. Number 2, Tony Khan goes on after the show to say, "We got the bag." All right. So you got the bag. Good for you. Do you know what getting the bag is? A $5 billion deal with Netflix, a $1 billion deal with Peacock, 2 $1 billion deals with USA, a $1 billion deal with Fox. Do you know what the difference between a billion and a million is? 3 zeros in the left column. So, wow, it's great for AEW. They got a $585 million deal. WWE's playing in billions. And WWE, to your point, Terry, can offer the free PLEs because Peacock paid them $1 billion.
So
How much pay-per-view revenue are they actually missing when they got $1 billion contract to put their content on a streaming platform that we will talk about later this week or later tonight? Ohio State versus Oregon is on what? The Peacock.
okay, so we could belabor this all night, but we need to get moving. So let's talk
No, we
about.
don't. This is our show. We do whatever we want. I stole that from Brian's people. Our
Yep.
show. We do what we want.
Exactly.
All right,
So
Are we going to talk about
moving on?
cookies?
Yeah.
The cookies and shit?
I'm ready.
Okay, so again, he goes ahead and throws it out there before my big dynamic introduction. So to celebrate National Homemade Cookies Day, which was, I don't know, a few days ago. I don't know what day it was. I've got to start keeping up with what actual day it is. We ranked our favorite cookies, and we let our friends do that, and our listeners and our watchers. And thank you everybody for voting. And we're going to run it down. Top 10 cookies.
If oatmeal raisin is on this list, we're rioting.
It's going to be on this list
Son
because
of a
I put it
bitch.
up in the top 5.
I
Hold on a
hate you.
second. Hold on a second. It'll get interesting pretty quickly. Number
Ah!
7, oatmeal chocolate chip. This
Okay.
is my number 1.
What?
What is
this is
wrong with you?
This has Terry written all over it.
Yes.
Like legitimately has Terry
it was
written
an
all
option
over it.
because of me. It wasn't on any list that I saw. And I said, damn it, it's going on the list because I want to vote it up there. This was my number 1.
Why?
Because I love it. I love the oatmeals and I hate raisins.
All right, that I understand.
Okay. I'll give you that.
I hate the taste of those oats while I'm eating a cookie.
Well,
Oh.
do you like those no-bake cookies with the oatmeal and stuff?
No,
Okay, good, because I hate those, by the way. Just
that's even
So
worse.
how do you hate those but enjoy oatmeal?
they're-
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, the chocolate. I'm just not overly.
Okay.
That's way
Okay.
more. The ratio is way more chocolate leaning in that one than it is this one.
The best cookie is raw chocolate. Damn it, Bober, starting shit again. Wait till we don't talk about Pitt football in the next
Raw?
show.
All right, so I think we all agree this is meh, except for Terry.
Y'all are
Terry rigged the
insane.
voting. I think we can all
I
agree
would
on
eat
that.
this cookie because I like oatmeal raisin cookies,
Yeah, I don't.
but I have never gone out of my way and said, you know what sounds really good? An oatmeal chocolate chip cookie.
It's
Nope.
great. You should try it. But you guys know I don't look at the actual results. I just put it in myself. Anyway, number 9, butter cookie.
I love it. If it's plain, I'm a big fan.
I
Boring.
mean, it's okay, but
So good.
Yeah,
nothing
it's
special
all
for
right.
me
Yeah.
here.
You're going to notice a
big
pattern
deal.
as we get into this with me. Boring. One element.
Fine, let's go.
Please.
Keep going.
There is one omission,
Please.
and I'm gonna throw a fit when we talk about the omissions. But
Okay.
anyway,
Is this the one? Hold on. Is this the one that comes in the tin
In the
can?
tin,
though?
yes, it
It's in the
is.
tin.
That your grandma used to use
Yes.
with all the sewing
Yes.
stuff after the
Mhm.
fact? She'd save the can? Yeah, that's what my grandma
like
did.
we got the memes. Who put
Okay.
cookies in the sewing kit?
Exactly. Yes.
Yes, still a fan.
Number
Number
8,
8, Terry.
peanut butter blossom.
Oh,
You communist bastards. What is wrong with you people? We got a presidential election coming up in 30 days, and I only mention that because if this is a test run for how you're voting, nobody talked to me for 5 days after November 5th. Peanut butter blossoms are 8? What is wrong with everybody? This is like putting Alabama in the top 5 after losing to Vandy. We'll talk about that in 20 minutes. But no.
no.
If
I-
Terry can get his on strictly because he wrote the list, this needs to be a top 3 cookie.
I also compiled the list, so who knows what it actually ended up at, right?
This is our show. Remember? Our show. But I like the multiple elements. That's the whole point.
That
You
is.
got the peanut
That's the
butter,
best
you got the cookie, and you don't just need to eat them at Christmas time.
No,
Eat 'em
they're
year-round.
all year round. They're good
And
year
my
round.
deal here is I like the ratio because we get back to the same thing. I don't want it to be overly peanut butter or overly chocolate. It's got the cookie here. That's what I'm going for.
So the only way these are really good is if they are slightly underbaked. Because if they get hard, no, they're dead. Nope, no thank you.
Oh, yeah, this cannot be a hard cookie.
Mm-mm.
No,
This
God,
has
oh,
to be
no,
a-
absolutely.
And we didn't
Yeah,
even
have
talk
sauce.
about those textures on the other cookies, like the oatmeal raisin.
Don't get me
soft
started.
cookie. The minute oatmeal gets hard, though, it is
Yeah.
not a good
It's done.
cookie
Yeah,
at
it's not
all.
a good cookie. It's bad. That point.
Mm-mm.
Agreed. Because
All
look at us agreeing.
This can't stay.
It's not
here.
It
gonna
I'm
won't
take
just
last.
having
Don't worry.
Peanut
It won't
butter
last.
cookie, and I'm throw it in the trash. Peanut
Yes.
butter
What?
cookie, throw it in
What?
the trash.
This is
Okay.
This is the cookie that's supposed to be hard. Now that's the
That's
difference
correct.
between- This is a cookie that's a harder cookie, and you dunk it in coffee, Terry, unless you're a communist that's going to throw it in the trash. Everybody's a communist this week, by the way. That's my word.
I'm noticing that. There's a theme here going.
There is always a theme with Andrew, yes.
Yeah.
I love
Calm
these.
down.
Again, peanut butter, anything, I am down. Absolutely.
Yeah, you could put peanut butter on virtually anything. It's a lot like yum yum sauce. It's going to hit. Okay.
My deal
True.
is I like peanut butter, like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, or just big spoonful of peanut butter. I don't like it baked for some reason. I just don't.
I get that.
Okay. All right. I get it. I do get it.
I also got a tomato ketchup thing going, but anyway.
Oh, let's
that
not
is
get
what it
started.
is. Number 6,
Condiments.
oatmeal raisin.
Okay, seriously.
This is the biggest
What?
fraud in the history of cookies because I look at that and think of oatmeal chocolate chip, and it's got damn raisins. in it.
Nobody thinks oatmeal chocolate chip.
I
We all
do,
think
'cause that's-
chocolate
'cause
chip.
That's what my taste buds are waiting on.
This
These
is,
look
like you
undercooked
said,
to me. These
Yes,
look
absolutely.
underbaked.
They look very
They
underrated.
look-
But these are
Put them
like-
back in the oven. Brian, what do you think? Put them
I
back
feel
in the oven.
Yes, they look like you put them in for like a couple minutes and then pulled them out like it's good enough and then throw them out there. No, they're whole. No,
Yeah, those are
with
raw.
These are terrible.
You will get
It's terrible.
salmonella by eating these.
Yes, you will. That's what these cookies give you all the time. Is salmonella.
Oatmeal
They give me
raisin's a
big
good
frown.
cookie.
That's what they.
Top 3, 4
Nope.
cookies.
Oh,
Not
gross.
yet. But they got to be cooked better than that shit. Terry picked
Yes.
the worst.
Still
picture
trying to
possible.
sneak in the fruit in my food. Cut it out. Stop with the healthiness.
Number 5, Thin Mint.
I can't with these
It's
people.
bukkake, not bukkake.
Oh my god!
Yeah. I think that's the word you're looking for.
All right, so anyway, Thin Mints, look at that.
I don't care. I'll
That's
say it.
Japanese, Andrew.
I hate these.
What?
Oh, you are wrong.
You hate
I-
these?
I do not like I do not
I
like
love
pepperminty things. I cannot stand
Oh.
peppermint.
Mm.
So to me, this is like taking a York peppermint patty, which to me is the worst candy in the world, and making it into a cookie. Gross.
This is like the ice cream list when we did mint chocolate chip.
But I love mint chocolate chip.
How does that make sense?
Oh,
I don't know.
Canada Dawn,
I
Kansas
will
City's
own
up
to
2-1.
this right here
No.
publicly on this show. I have a Girl Scout troop that knows me on a first name basis to come sell me Thin Mint cookies every year. Come to my house personally to sell me Thin Mints. So I love them. They're my top. They're top 2 for me. So
There you
Wow.
go. Put them in the freezer, dunk them in milk, enjoy an entire sleeve because that's
Yes.
the way they're meant to
That's
be
the way
eaten.
they're meant to
Exactly.
be made.
They
Yeah.
are. Yes.
I do that.
Serving
with the peanut
sizes
butter.
are just a suggestion, folks, when it comes to
Always.
cookies.
it's one sleeve.
One sleeve.
Yes, one sleeve. all the
One
time.
row of the Oreos.
That's right.
I mean, that's
As
how it
well,
works.
About to do a line.
Oh my god.
Number 4, double chocolate chunk.
Mm-mm.
Way
Too
too much chocolate for me.
Too much.
No, this is
Salt
perfect.
helps, but it's not enough to battle the chocolate.
See, I do not eat fast food, but I eat cookies because I've got a sweet tooth. Double chocolate chip is perfect, Terry. What's wrong with you?
It's fantastic. It's a great cookie.
Oh, all
Yeah.
right.
I agree with that.
We know they're the chocolate fans.
Yep,
Allison.
apparently.
All
We're
right.
the
True
old
story.
folks. We belong in the old folks' home.
All right, we're about to hit the top
He's
3.
about to say macaroon, but because it's got Terry written all over it.
I want to see sugar cookie. Frosted cookie. Ooh.
Snickerdoodle.
Snickerdoodle.
I do love
There it
this
is.
one.
That is
Okay.
good.
Very
That
good
is
one.
yes.
My son's grandmother, not my mom, makes great snickerdoodles, and I had never had one before she made me a batch. So my first snickerdoodle was fresh, warm out of the oven.
Mm,
Yeah, imagine that.
that's fantastic. Huh?
This one's really good, soft and warm.
Yes.
This is one that
I'll
I've
stop
slowly
there.
gotten more into as I've gotten older. Like Snickerdoodles
Yep.
kind of slowly crept up my list as one of my favorite cookies as well.
All right.
Snickerdoodles are okay. About like that throw that just came out of the catcher's home plate that did not get the batter or the runner out. It was just okay.
We have our own way to keep you up to date on the Yankees game.
Yes.
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 No.
Always.
It might involve Snickerdoodles.
Yes.
Number 2,
2-1. 2-1
sugar
Kansas City. Fucking Yankees. Sugar cookies. These are
the
legit.
best.
And I
Put the
can
real
have
sugar on them,
tons
though.
of
Where's the
cookies.
real sugar?
Yeah,
Not
that
enough,
doesn't look
Terry.
like there's not enough.
Doesn't
I
have
agree.
enough sugar.
That just looks like
So
a
now-
plain cookie.
Here's something funny. We had this on the list, and we had spritz on the list,
What is spritz?
and we had butter cookies. Aren't they all kind of the same?
Hey,
No. Butter cookies are
I do
not
not-
sugar cookies.
I
Okay.
do not originate the options. I steal them from other people.
I think
On
spritz
the
are
internet?
also sugar cookies. So,
So-
either way, I'm happy.
And then we chastise them on this program
Oh, God,
live
yeah.
Yes.
after we've already
course.
seen the list.
Oh,
we
I
still
know.
blame
It's like-
Terry.
That's like last week. So and so's not a one-hit wonder. And I'm like, well, according to this website, it is.
Well,
Okay.
I approve of this number 2. This is my favorite cookie. I love. Not only do I love regular sugar cookies, I love the sugar cookie dough. Good stuff here.
Okay, before we
Sprinkles.
hit number 1, I'm gonna say the fact that Samoa's didn't make the top 10 of this just drives me crazy.
Coconut
I
and
agree.
chocolate.
Nobody
it's
likes
so good.
coconut.
Oh,
so
I
good.
vote. I voted
Not on
it in
my
top
list.
5, Terry. Top 5 for me.
Thank you, guys.
No.
We tried. We tried really hard, but these people don't know what they're doing.
Come
Number
on,
one, and
Rodon.
it should be obvious at this
Yes.
point because it
Most
hasn't
obvious
shown up.
cookie.
Chocolate
The
chip.
chocolate chip cookie,
Chocolate
and
chip
you.
cookie.
Is
I
that
mean-
Toll
I've
House
already
or
said.
regular?
I've already said that chocolate chip oatmeal was my top, but you get one of these and they're just out of the oven, and you don't
Oh,
let it
so good.
set for too long. Oh man.
Ooey
Like-
and gooey.
My kid loves to cook and bake, and cookies are one of his favorite things to make. And you will never hear me say, "No, let's not. No, you shouldn't." No, that will never happen.
This is the parent that is suggesting we make apples, but it's with caramel over top of them, or cookies. We're not going to be baking anything healthy.
No, that is correct. Not
No.
at all.
What is
Good list.
list? I mean, come on.
It's all
Not
it's all
anything on this
reliable.
list.
Not yet.
Number
no.
10, oatmeal chocolate chip, my number 1. Number 9, butter cookie. Number 8, peanut butter blossom. Number 7, peanut butter. Number 6, oatmeal raisin. Number 5, thin mint. Number 4, double chocolate chunk. Number 3, snickerdoodle. Number 2, sugar cookie. And number 1, as it should be,
With a
chocolate
bullet.
chip cookie. Because everybody loves a chocolate chip cookie.
All right, great list. Not too
Fucking
much.
Yankees.
I know.
3-1.
Shush. I don't want to hear it. I changed to wrestling. I can't take the stress.
Why don't we run
Oh.
down what's happening on the Ram Network this week? Is Filter Free Podcast having a show, or we just don't know what they're talking about?
I think we forgot to ask.
I think
Right now, concurrently with our show,
Aren't they all
Dave,
on vacation?
Dave and Amy are interviewing Dave's daughter Brittany about the second half of the Vince McMahon documentary. That was really fun last week for them. Dave is out of pocket. Timmy's out of pocket. So Allison may be correct unless they recorded 2 episodes.
unless it's
I-
a TJ monologue going on.
Riveting audio. Talking to yourself.
Woo.
Believe me, I know. I've got videos that have not been published for that reason. Anyway.
And it's possible
Yeah.
there's a small chance that they will not go the whole time and they'll actually talk about controversial song lyrics. They did not do it last week, so it's possible they could do it this week. I doubt it, but it's on their list of things.
On the wrestling with
On Talking
Pond-
Wrestling, sorry.
Talking
Yeah,
wrestling.
that's-
Okay.
Yeah, they're 50 minutes in the same as we are. So, and they're still going because I
Yeah.
just happened to see it on the Facebook
That's what she
while I was
said.
making sure. Yeah, that's what he said.
We've been talking hard and soft, and y'all haven't thrown in.
I know. It's
Yeah.
been a long day.
I feel like
That's what she said. Also.
I feel like not only am I being judged, I've been seen. Thank you so much, Terry. That's why you are my friend.
Oh, you jerks.
Okay,
But I will not apologize.
Nah.
no reason to.
I'm remorseful for something I may have said. I love
All
that
right.
video. So you're sorry?
Now we're talking about reels that Andrew is.
Oh Lord, I am up to date. Woohoo!
I just skipped about 100 of them.
Terry, you
our-
can't do that.
Well, I'm
this is
going.
Andrew's love
I'm,
language.
going I'm moonwalking through the list.
Okay.
Okay.
I put thought into those
He
reels that I
does.
send you.
I'm creeping up toward the top. I will eventually get there, but it's very similar to my emails at this point.
Oh God, forget it. Forget it.
God.
You don't want to see how many he's missing there, Allison.
Nope, I don't. It'll give me a heart attack. Nope, let's go.
It will give
And
you
I
a heart
send-
attack.
Sometimes I'll send a reel to him, and he goes, "That's in the big list that you haven't."
It's true.
We do that a lot. We do that.
Anyway, thank you, Bryant, for coming. This was great.
Yes.
Bryant's
thanks for
also
having
going to be on the football show in a few minutes. Man, we got through this pretty quickly, didn't we?
Yeah, that was pretty
We're-
great.
We're not over an hour. For
Hurry up! Hurry up! We're late. We gotta run. Hurry up! I'm sitting here staring at the timer, like, is it really gonna take an hour to get your cookies? We
I have
love
an
'em.
itch. I have an itch. I have an itch right there.
The producer likes to yell at me, and it
I
doesn't
mean,
work.
have you met me?
TSA pre-check. She's got all the IDs. We're gonna be there 3 hours early. I'm like, I'm not getting out of bed for this shit.
Bitch, wait till we travel internationally. Ooh, you're gonna
Oh,
hate
You
me.
keep threatening that 4-1.
Yeah.
4
stop.
to
Stop.
1
I don't want to
Kansas
know
City.
anymore.
Ugh, puke.
Okay, I advise you three, go ahead and go on mute because I'm going to wrap it up. That way you'll be on mute between the shows. See, we're doing you're seeing the behind the scenes stuff here, guys.
We do that every week when I read the comments out loud.
Well, that too. But anyway, it's been fun, guys. Thank you for Bryant for coming. Thanks, Allison and Andrew, as always. Fun list. Thanks, everybody that voted. You were wrong about some stuff, but we're not going to belabor that point. As always, love your people. Tell them you love them. Make it weird. See you next time, everybody. Hello and welcome to TNA Top 10. This week on the football show, we're going to talk about week 6 games and look forward to week 7. And make sure you guys are unmuted when I call on you because this is tricky sometimes. But we have with us, as always, I'm T Weave. We have Andrew with us. And today, for the second time, I'm going to introduce him, our friend. The champion of the bowl pick'em last year, and up until this week at least, he was the leader of the college football pick'em for TNA. Bryant Haremza, how you doing, Bryant?
Doing good. Thank you for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming. So why don't we get into it? We got some stories, some opening stories here. Texas took a week off and watched the whole SEC crumble.
You're not wrong,
Yes.
Kerry. So I'm 3-7 in this week's top 10 pick'em because I did check, and thanks to the SEC, I'm 3-7 in this week's top 10 pick'em. A remarkable meltdown is the best way I can describe that from what we have called on this program, and we're not the only ones. We don't get paid millions of dollars to say it, but there are those that do. The best football program in the country, and they are best conference in the country. They did not look like it this week, with the exception of Georgia. No offense, Terry. Very few of the top teams in the SEC carried the water, and we're going to talk about some dominance that was unexpected from Texas A&M.
I don't know. I called that one. I don't know if I called it that much, but I did.
You didn't call it by fucking 30. That's my line, number one.
But I will say that Georgia, Georgia had a loss already, so I think it was going to be difficult for them to show up and not really take it seriously. We'll get to that, but they did well. But yeah, so many of them just showed up, and even the bottom of the SEC is still in the SEC. As much as we like to shit on Vandy,
I don't think Alabama will be doing that anytime soon.
Yeah,
Vandy's slowly coming along. I mean, even if you look at the game last week with Missouri, took them to double overtime. So Vandy's slowly coming along, getting that program, trying to get it rebuilt and up there to compete with everybody else.
And
rebuilt to 6-6.
He had, and Diego Pavia had them just where he wanted them. They're a 3-touchdown underdog or more. That's how he likes it.
Vandy is horrible. Okay, there's no excuse for Alabama to go. They should have spotted him 30 and still won by 5 touchdowns. I guess we're jumping the shark here, but that performance by the SEC has opened the door for the Big Ten in a big way. And at least according to the polling, according to our polling, I'm sure. I don't, but the Big Ten's got to deliver too. And they're just, it's war of attrition at this point. So,
and then in the Big 12, and I put it down, it's like there were teams that we thought were going to be at the top of the Big 12, and they have just not shown up. Like Kansas was ranked in the top 25 preseason. They have not beat an FBS team all year, and we're 6 games in.
And all of a sudden, Oklahoma State is got the arguably, because of who's on this list, best running back in the country, or should have been, and they can't win a football game in Stillwater. They got Ollie Gordon on this team. They got Ollie Gordon on this team, and they can't win a freaking game in Stillwater.
Right.
So,
well, and that's the thing with this new pack, and like you guys have talked about before with the new Big 12. I mean, there was so much new potential. Like I thought Utah would honestly walk in here and just walk this conference. Honestly, with the defense they had, and like it almost feels like nobody wants to win the Big 12 at this point.
Right.
Like they're all just willing to just let it go to somebody else.
Well, it's my obligation to say it this week. Without Cam Rising, Utah's offense does not exist.
There is no offense in Utah. There is none.
Their defense is fantastic, but they have no offensive firepower without him. They're not a threat deep. They don't read well. They don't run well. They're relying on their defense to score, which is always a problem if you're the offensive coordinator.
Yep.
They're the Big 12 Iowa.
Yes.
What now?
The Big 12 Iowa.
One more time, I still didn't catch that.
The Big 12 version of Iowa.
Oh, Iowa. Yeah.
Yeah.
Idiots out wandering around. You know why
Yes.
Nebraska's so windy? Because Wyoming sucks and Iowa blows, and you're all welcome for that. Sorry, Terry. That's a little
That's okay.
geographical humor for if you've ever lived in Nebraska.
You
As
would
of
understand.
this past weekend, it was 94 degrees in Lincoln with a 50-mile-an-hour wind blowing.
Yep.
Well,
Normal
you
day.
mentioned it. You mentioned Boise State's running back Ashton Jenney. He's already over 1,000 yards, 16 touchdowns. They're calling him the favorite for the Heisman.
Okay, well, that's unless the press just gives it to Travis Hunter because they like him so much.
Yeah, that whole both sides of the ball thing, they'll really boost somebody up. But I mean, he's really playing both sides of the ball. He's not just kind of showing up on one for a few plays. So I'll give him that.
And he rarely sits. And that's the other thing with
Yeah.
Travis Hunter. He plays every down he can. He might miss 2 or 3 snaps, but that's it.
Right.
And he's out there. And the thing is, even when he's on defense, he makes the big plays. He's causing fumbles. He's in those pass breakups. He's doing everything he can to carry this team.
And if
And
they
I
can
think
play
I
to the
think-
level they did last week continually this season, he may get a boost there.
Yeah, and I think the media's in love with him. I really do, and that is going to help. See Eddie George, 1995.
I think he's got a podcast. I mean, it's 2024.
Yeah, he does. And they allow him to go on there and talk. And that's something that, we talk about some things you wouldn't see, Terry. That temper tantrum that was thrown at the end of the Alabama game, that there's been a public apology
Oh,
issued
yeah.
for, would never happen in the Nick Saban era.
Well, how about all the crap about DeBoer's T-shirt? Y'all heard all that?
Oh, yeah.
Fans are
yeah.
pissed that he was wearing an ugly T-shirt on the side.
Yeah, was wearing a T-shirt on the sideline instead of wearing a polo or a whatever.
Or
Yeah.
a button up, yeah.
But
he's
hey,
got
there's also a bunch out there about Nick Saban providing the rat poison this week.
Yeah, well, I mean, Saban said that the Vandy's the only team you don't have to worry about, and this is the thing, Vanderbilt, because I'm going to be the Saban apologist here, the greatest college football coach of all time, Terry. In case you forgot, 7 national titles, 29 losses at Alabama, 11 SEC championships. Do you have any idea how many points he ever let Vandy score against him?
13.
13. 13 total points in all the times Vandy played.
They had more than that in the first half.
And that was my point is, DeBoer has already gone way past that. All the times Vandy played Alabama, Vanderbilt scored 13 total points. And there was a game that everybody remembers where Vanderbilt was 4-0 or 5-0 and they got to play Alabama. And the guy says, Alabama, you're next. And it was when Jalen Hurts was the quarterback. And Jalen Hurts says, well, I guess we are next because we're on the schedule. And they end up winning 52-3 or 59-0, or it was just a humongous blowout.
Yep.
And
We were
There's
teasing
one
this, so I thought I'd throw the graphic up. We might as well.
2 turnovers and you had the ball for 18 minutes. You're going to lose a football game.
Yeah.
Exactly. Vandy controlled the clock. I mean, you even look at the stat there. Alabama, 84 rushing yards. Like, to me, that's a telling stat on an Alabama stat line because they are always ground and pound, whether it's quarterback, running back by committee. They've got a running game. To have 84 yards just kind of tells you that they abandoned ship and just relied on the pass.
Yeah. And Terry doesn't have how many attempts they had for passing this time.
Yeah,
But you
I could
only-
only fit so much. I had to sacrifice some of those details.
But you only had 6 third downs.
Mhm.
I mean, you got 50% of them. And everybody, it's a great win for Vanderbilt. Let's not get this twisted. They are
Sure.
not better than Alabama. They're not better. They were better than Alabama Saturday, but this is not a better football team. It's not a better
Right.
program. It's not a better coach. It's not better recruiting. It's not better facilities. Alabama went to sleep, and Vanderbilt took advantage. And 42 minutes, if you don't have the ball, you want to know how you keep Ryan Williams from doing what he did against Georgia? Do you know how you keep Jalen Milroe contained? You possess.
Yep.
And if your defense can't get off the field against Vandy, and you got some of these bigger games coming up, it's not really, really beneficial. Now, I'm not ready to call fire, panic, whatever at this point for Alabama. But hopefully this is the eye-opening loss they need. And speaking of eye-opening losses, we have corrections this week. Thank you, Dave, and the HSV. Apparently, since Bobby Bowden's first year at Florida State back in the 70s, Florida State has had 5 losing seasons, 4 of which are contributed to Willie Taggart and the current man, Mike Norvell. It was 2008. Ole Miss beat Florida 31-30. Not what I thought was Kentucky. Kentucky beat LSU the year prior in triple overtime, as did Arkansas. And fun fact that Dave didn't add, but I did, LSU would be the only 2-loss national champion in history. And both losses came in triple overtime. And another fun fact, because we got to talk about them later, Terry, they decimated Ohio State in the national championship game. And that was when the Mad Hatter was actually the Mad Hatter. So.
Wasn't that when Ohio State went on the run, went to back-to-back or national title games?
06 and 07, they lost to Florida and Tebow and Chris Lake, and they lost to LSU in 07. And then Florida took it from Oklahoma in 08. Bama wins it in 09 from Texas.
Yep.
And then some guy won it in 2010, Terry, but I don't know what his fucking name was.
Yeah, but then, Bama the next 2 seasons.
Bama. 3 out of 4. Pretty good football team. We tried to keep a
streak alive that next year, but Jameis Winston, whatever.
Exactly.
Let's move to the next game, because it's kind of the same story. We got another SEC team favored by a lot. Tennessee goes into Arkansas and loses.
This is embarrassing. Where the hell was this offense of Tennessee? Bryant, go ahead, buddy.
For me, I think, you got a blueprint. The pressure that they put on Nico on the passing game was kind of surprising to me. Like, they came at different looks, and you kind of see the stats here, but like it was almost like Tennessee didn't know how to handle the rush. It didn't know how to handle the pressure that Arkansas was throwing at them, and they panicked. Truthfully, it just looked like they panicked out there on the field with every play.
And they certainly didn't
getting shut out in the first half. I mean, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, they certainly didn't expect the rush. One thing, Terry's over there smirking because he's been waiting for Tennessee to play someone with a pulse, as he says. But it's true, because those first 3 games where they rolled everybody, they were rolling nobodies.
There's a lot of fool's gold in college football at the start of the season.
Yeah. But you and I talked about this, Terry, last week, and I told you under no certain circumstances was Tennessee going to lose this game, because there was no way Arkansas offensively could keep up with Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And I still believe that. But apparently they figured out how to play some defense there in where the hell ever Arkansas is, Fayetteville. They get play because they stopped Josh Heupel's offense, which is in itself an incredible task.
And this is saying bad stuff about Auburn, but Arkansas's DC was an Auburn linebacker, and then we let him get away. So we'll see what happens.
All I'm saying is this was of all the games, this is the second most shocking. Well, shit, I can't even rank them. Let's see. Probably Alabama to Vandy. Let's be honest. Mm-hmm. Especially when he didn't possess the ball 20 minutes. And I'll be honest with both of you guys. I didn't even put that Vandy-Alabama game on my radar because it's Vandy. Why would you even watch that game when the other games were going on at the time?
And I think the scoreboard is still hanging from a crane, isn't it?
Correct. And it was Vandy that needed all the light bulbs this week, Terry, not freaking Alabama. But the other thing is, in all seriousness, this game and the Missouri game, absolutely stunned by both. But anyway, do we have Missouri?
We got Missouri. Missouri at Texas A&M. At least Texas A&M is a team that you thought, Missouri's on the road. Texas A&M, even though we thought Missouri should win this football game, A&M, they've got talent. But it shouldn't have been 41-10.
No, this is an embarrassment. And last week I called this a measuring stick, a litmus test, whatever. Offensively, defensively, special teams, paper on paper, film to film, Missouri wins every time. They got dog walk Saturday afternoon, and this game was
many yards.
This game was never close. It was absolute. And look, I get College Station, but it ain't worth 30 points. Playing in College Station is not worth 30 points. Is it worth a score? Probably. A bad team is worth 2 scores? Sure, but not this.
No matter how much they practice cheering for their team.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, and this was just remarkable.
Well,
Bryant
and
has a thought because he was high on Missouri like I was.
I've had Missouri as kind of my dark horse SEC team because of how they did last year. They're coming back with a lot of players. I'm like, this team could do something. They had penalties on big. They'd have big play and a penalty, and that penalty just seemingly just deflated them completely. It just took them completely out of the game. Like you have a touchdown play and then it's called back, and they just literally just shrug. Well, what do we do now? It just looked like they didn't know how to overcome anything, and I give Texas A&M's quarterback Weigman, I believe, was who came back in after being out and just was unstoppable, almost throwing the football in that first half. It seemed like, and just up and down the field. It seemed like just nothing could stop them. And I think Missouri, I can't say they're looking ahead because Bama's still in 2 weeks, but it's almost like they just gave up.
Well, my deal with that's a nice comment from Devin there. Thank you, Devin, for joining us. It's good to see you, even though you're a Q's fan.
Well, he keeps winning all our contests, so he must know something about it.
Kyle McCourt's doing things though over there.
He is
Syracuse.
doing good over there. Yeah, he's helping
but
out.
No, in all seriousness, here with the talking about this game and what A&M was able to do, you hit it on the head. They don't, Missouri would get a little momentum and it get called back, get taken, whatever. And Elko, to his credit, has these guys playing, and this was a balanced offensive attack. And when I picked Missouri to win last week, it was 2 reasons. Number one, I still think they're the better football team than A&M. They didn't play like it, but Alabama didn't play like it against Vandy, and Tennessee didn't play like it against Arkansas.
True.
But I was unaware their quarterback was back. And I've made that mistake a couple times. I'm going to have to start reading injury reports. But he made all the difference because he's 100%. Been out since the Notre Dame game. Yep. And A&M's offense did not look like this for the last 2 or 3 games, especially against a pretty good defense that hadn't surrendered a whole lot of anything to anybody. No. They even kept Boston College less than 300 yards, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Bottom line, though, A&M is truly, Terry, that team. We talk about find the team no one wants to play. Mm-hmm. They're probably that team. I personally think Illinois and Nebraska are that team in the Big Ten. We'll get there. I think A&M is that team. You don't want to play them. They're going to be that team that you don't want to play. And all of a sudden, I'm doing the Nick Saban hands. You don't want to play them, Terry. Terry,
one thing that's interesting to me with A&M, when Jimbo was there, they were like top 3 in recruiting, and they just had some hosses, and he didn't know what to do with them. Right. When Elko came, some guys transferred out. Now, he kind of held on to some key pieces, but he's probably got less talent this year than A&M's had in the past. But he can coach. He coached his guys up. Obviously Duke didn't run away with the ACC last year, but it's freaking Duke. He did a great job at Duke. And now he's going to have the ability to recruit in Texas. Mm-hmm. This guy might be, I talk about all these teams at the top of the SEC battling it out to see who drops. He's making a big statement here, probably.
And as we sit right now,
when you look at what he's done, Elko, and the difference between Duke and A&M is Duke is a basketball school. Mm-hmm. A&M has a checkbook that they're willing to open up. And we joked about it last year, Terry Bryant, you can weigh in on this. They told Jimbo Fisher to go fuck himself and wrote the check to get him out of there. They were done with Jimbo in College Station. And then the week they fire him and have to pay the buyout, what did they earn at that? $150 million on that 12.
They had a huge check at halftime. They were showing it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's insanity. Absolute insanity. But they were happy to tell him to pound sand.
Exactly.
Jimbo Fisher.
Yep.
And Elko's kind of got a grittiness about him where he's not trying to put super teams together. He's not resting on the fact he was part of Saban's staff and won national championship at Florida State with Jameis Winston. He's building. And that's what you saw at Duke. Even in their losses last year, they were always competitive. The loss that they had against Notre Dame, A&M shouldn't have lost that game. No. They should not have lost to Notre Dame. This was a beatdown. This was a statement. A&M's probably, now they might make me a fool and lose the next 4 or 5 games. but I see them as the real deal. A&M.
And currently sitting on top of the SEC.
That's right. And Auburn's right on the bottom, but we'll get into that later. Next game,
Later.
Auburn at Georgia.
Later, here we go. We'll just cede it to you, Terry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this game, Auburn got down by a touchdown early and stayed down by a touchdown, and it ended up 31-13. But that's because it got too late in the game to punt, and they gave Georgia good field position, and Georgia kept adding. They didn't play that bad, but Auburn's definitely got a ceiling, and Hugh Freeze wants to open it up, and that's what he did at the start of the year. But he didn't have the quarterback to do that and to not throw interceptions. He's pulled it down, but they're kind of bland, even though, they did okay on offense. They just don't have that dynamic playmaker at quarterback. They got a great running back, and he did well again, and they need to keep feeding him. But Hugh Freeze wants to air it out. And I put the thing on Twitter today, Sandra Bullock. For those that don't know, Hugh Freeze was Michael Orr's high school coach. So that guy that Sandra Bullock is telling to run the dang ball, that's Hugh Freeze. And she needs to come down to Auburn and keep telling him that.
Well, the biggest improvement from last week to this week is no turnovers.
Yeah. Huge.
And no turnovers against a very fast,
Right.
physical, disciplined, experienced defense in Georgia.
Right.
But next week you'll probably throw 5 fucking turnovers. I mean, that's just there is so much inconsistency at Auburn right now, especially on the offensive side of the ball. To your point, we don't even know at Auburn who we are as a football team.
Right.
Do we run the ball? Do we throw the ball? Well, this week we did a little bit of both, and we just didn't get to the end zone. That's what that looks like, Terry, because you're playing Kirby Smart's defense.
Yeah.
They're not going to give up a whole lot.
No.
People say, well, Alabama scored 40 whatever. Yeah, they did, but that was Alabama.
Yeah.
There were mistakes like the offensive line is okay, but there were a couple of times where Thorne would drop back and the defensive end is right there. Like our left tackle apparently cannot do pass protection. The run blocking's good, but he just let a guy through like he didn't know his assignment or something. That happened multiple times. You can't do that against Georgia.
No.
You can't come back from it.
Negative.
Yep.
And then they get an off week, and then they go to Missouri, and Missouri's going to be pissed off, and we'll see how that goes. Let's move along out of the SEC and into the ACC. Miami storms back in the fourth quarter to win 39-38 against Cal.
They got by with a little help from their friends again this week, Terry. I know you didn't see it because you're in bed. But we had a missed targeting call.
Mhm.
Had 2 offensive linemen downfield in the end zone. Miami absolutely lost this football game. Did not deserve to win this game. Was given this win again, the same as Virginia Tech. And Cal just couldn't close. Ultimately, you don't see 21 points in the fourth quarters if you're a good football team.
Correct.
But they got the turnover. They made I always forget his name. The quarterback.
Ward?
Ward. Thank you. I knew it was a W. Cam Ward. They made him nervous. They got to him. But yeah, Miami played a very undisciplined football game. You see 110 penalties there. They got fortunate that they didn't get called for targeting in fourth quarter. That targeting result would have resulted in a 15-yard penalty, first down the other way for Cal. The U is vulnerable. They're not a great football team, and they're not a very disciplined football team.
I'm interested to see who steps up in the ACC. I mean, I know we're going beyond just this game, but looking to see who that team is.
It felt like almost Miami was, I don't want to say trying to lose, but like the penalties and just, I mean, they had the decent time, but like for Cal to give up a 25-point lead going into the fourth, that's just, you can't do that, especially on a team like this where you had them down. And it's almost like they just kind of were like, okay, well, they can't come back. They can't come all the way back. We'll find a way. And
Right.
like Andrew said, that missed targeting, I think, kind of just changed that momentum a little bit more and gave Miami that more confidence. And then marching down to, last play of the game, score the touchdown to win it. And ACC is kind of the same as the Big 12. Who's going to step up to actually take it?
Yeah.
You don't know at this point.
But to your point, good teams find a way. Cal's not ready yet because
No.
they have a 21-point lead or whatever, 20-point lead. They do not close. You
Right.
have to close.
Yeah,
And we're
to
going to
only-
talk about that
Yeah.
with a couple other teams coming up. You better be able to close,
Exactly.
particularly this season. Because it's already the Wild West. It would not shock me if we make it without an undefeated team before the year is over. Would not
Agreed.
shock me.
Agreed.
Well, let's talk about another couple of ACC teams since we saw Florida State drop out and Miami's showing some weakness here. Oh, we got the Clemson Florida State game. I thought a different game was next. We'll get to that in a minute, but Florida State, 250 yards against. It's weird that the yardage was 500 on the nose and 250 on the nose. Clemson 29-13, doubles up total yardage against Florida State. Florida State's struggling.
Mm-hmm. You send your best players to the league last year.
Mm-hmm.
All those players who, when they realized couldn't get to the playoff, all left. You had the shell of the team that got dog walked by Georgia. And now you're trying to rebuild this program that a lot of people can't see going anywhere. Sorry, Dave. But Clemson is that slow, sneaky team that I think can still make that one run if they need to. Klubik is coming on strong now. He's kind of getting a little better grasp of the offense. And he's kind of just taking this team, Clemson, back up. The defense is coming along. It is Florida State giving up only 13 points this week. But if you can keep that consistency on the quarterback side and just let him manage the game properly, Clemson's going to work their way back into it, I think. They're slowly rising back up.
Clemson didn't close. 500 yards, only scored 29 points. They obviously did not close. Story of this game, and you boys can weigh in on this, and I've said it last week. I'll say it next week if we talk about Florida State. Talk about the week after, the week after, the week after. 22 yards rushing, giving up 265. They have no control of the line of scrimmage. And if you have no control of the line of scrimmage against any top-level football team, they're going to run the ball, they're going to shove it down your throat, and then when you go ahead and put 8 in the box, they're going to burn you on the backside. That's how this works. Florida State cannot establish the line of scrimmage. They're not giving their young quarterback any help. These highly touted running backs are not doing their job. Their defense is spending way too much time on the field, although this game looks like it was about even. But you're getting gashed. When you put 500 yards, these are big, long breakout plays where people are sprinting to make the tackles or push someone out of bounds. Until Florida State can establish the line of scrimmage, they're not going to win football games. This is the biggest, most colossal failure, meltdown, whatever you want to call it, that I have ever personally seen in college football. Highly touted, top 10 team, all of the recruiting, all the 5 stars, all the transfers. We got our guy at Norvell as the coach. This is an unexplainable disaster.
Well, it's also compounded.
And an unmitigated one at that. Go ahead, Terry.
Well, it's also compounded by the fact that Florida State as a university is looking to get out of the ACC while they're melting down as a team. And there is a lot of complication going on in Tallahassee. And, they got to figure out what do they do as a football team going forward and what do they do as a university where they end up in a conference going forward, all at the same time. And that's rough.
Well, they will not beat Clemson, and they will not beat Miami.
No.
So you can put those two thoughts to bed, despite the fact we both picked Florida State based on all the information we had as our preseason number 1 pick in the ACC. Right. It's not happening. It's not happening. They'll be lucky to win 5 games. They're 1-5 right now.
All right, let's move along to the other game that I thought we were going to look at next. Couple of teams worth mentioning in the ACC. SMU beats Louisville 34-27. And SMU looks pretty good as a first-year team in the ACC.
I'll be honest. I was kind of surprised with this one, just because it was such back and forth. Honestly, like
Yeah.
a lot. I still kind of and this is part of me watching college football for so long. SMU is always kind of the doormat school, or they'd have a good year here and there, but to see him kind of compete with Louisville and then kind of establish himself in the ACC when really they were the team nobody wanted in the ACC. But I know it's people are going to say, oh, it's Louisville, but they're really impressing me so far, and I think they've got good potential, and like we've said, an open ACC this year.
And I haven't watched SMU too much, but I know so Rhett Lashley is there. He was Gus Malzahn's high school quarterback and has followed him around everywhere and ended up at SMU. And I don't know exactly the offense he's running, but he's putting up a lot of numbers. I don't know if it's going to last, but at the moment, this is a good time to be in the ACC with the big boys dropping down. Maybe he can surprise them.
Run the ball. He runs the ball quite a bit. He does a nice established, getting the play action ready for his guys. They have a very good, sound, fundamental football team. Louisville, not closing. Louisville should have won this game. They are not closing on the offensive side of the ball. We saw it against Notre Dame, and now we've seen it against SMU. It's not that SMU isn't a good football team. They're a better football team than I expected them to be. But Louisville, offensively, that 6-year quarterback, he's been in systems. He understands football. He gets the timing, blah, 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 blah. They lose a game. So SMU has done a great job. I'm all for an underdog. Let's see somebody different other than Clemson or Florida State, or not Miami, because they don't deserve it. 2 times the referees have given them a football game. But that's typical of Miami and their national championships back in the 80s, too. So, anyway, Bober says couldn't hack it in Clemson, and he's sure as hell not cutting it in Tallahassee. I'm not sure who on this program said something about DJ when Dave was on the show. But I don't remember, Terry. Maybe you can help me out. But I had said the man's a liability, I think. And he's a liability.
Yeah.
Still is.
I probably said worse than he's a liability, to be honest, because that's, my style. But yeah, he's not good. Like the Yankees, down 4-1, Giancarlo's batting though. Has my attention. What's the next game, Terry?
We're going to head to the SEC. No, we're not. We've already done the SEC. We're going to head to the Big Ten, Michigan at Washington, a replay of the national championship game. And Washington at home welcomes Michigan and beats them by 10 points. With 13 points in the fourth quarter to make that happen.
Michigan is just not the same. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh's gone. It is a completely different team. But Washington's a complete rebuild team from what they had a year ago. And I was actually happy to see Washington win this because I thought they were going to be much like UCLA, the doormat of the Big Ten this year. And not that I just don't enjoy watching Michigan lose every week, which I do, but they just didn't look like Washington to me just looked good looked good, had some control, and I think this is a win they can build on, truthfully. I mean, that's what they need. And they need this kind of a win, especially against the Michigan. Yes, they're down, but it's still you beat Michigan. That's huge.
Yeah, Michigan's a middle of the pack football team this year. They'll probably lose another 2 games because they've got Ohio State on the schedule and Penn State, maybe? I don't remember. But they've got Ohio State the last game of the year, and we're going to get to those boys. That's a football team. But Michigan is not led by Jim Harbaugh anymore, and that is such a big deal. But to your point, Bryant, there were only 2 returning starters. Let's try that again. Returning starters to Washington. They returned 2. Georgia returned 16. So that experience level makes all the difference in the world. Michigan didn't have an answer for Washington. No. And you would think offensively that would be the case. Like Washington is this great offensive powerhouse. And they did. They put great yards up on it. It was the defense that was suffocating Michigan. Yep. And that's not Washington football. not since Chris Peterson was the head coach. So they're an offensive-minded team. They're going to get stops. They got stops, and like you said, they took advantage of the home field. They took advantage of the turnovers, and they played a pretty clean football game all the way around. I mean, there's only 7 penalties between both teams, so yeah, Michigan not what they were a year ago.
And like Michigan, I said, I haven't watched a lot of Michigan this year. I'll admit that, but they seem to want to lean kind of like they did a few games last year, really lean on running the ball and playing defense. Those are their strengths, but sometimes you're going to have to throw the ball a little bit. They just can't do that.
They do not have a quarterback they trust. They had J.J. McCarthy last year, who they would let him do whatever he wanted. This year, they are relying, like you said, too much on the running. They, nothing wrong with it, but you got to eventually throw the ball occasionally in this new college football. And if you can't, then you're just falling behind.
Yeah. And when you're down, let's face it, they were down. Washington forced a turnover, scored on it in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. And you can't get into that desperation mode. You have to relax. You have to play your game. Don't play someone else's game because of the circumstance. Play your game. And they're not doing that. J.J. McCarthy was a fantastic game manager as well. Mm-hmm. So he knew what third down meant. He knew what play to call here. He knew what slide protection. He knew what adjustment. When I talk about quarterbacks as game managers, I'm not using that as an insult. I'm talking about he had full control of everything on the offensive side of the ball. Yep. And you commit turnovers in the NCAA these days, you're going to lose football games. That's the bottom line.
That's right. Well, let's move on to the next game. USC at Minnesota, and Minnesota wins this by a touchdown. And I talked good about SC the last couple of weeks, and maybe I was wrong there.
Well, they're still SC, Terry. My favorite part of the whole game was at the end of it. The guy forces the turnover against SC, and then he pulls his shirt up like he's got a gun. He's flashing a gun, and they throw a 15-yard penalty on him.
Yep.
I'm like, you guys all a bunch of wusses. What's wrong with you? Couldn't happen to a bunch of nicer jerk-offs. Again, SC, they're going to throw. They're going to run. They're sloppy with the ball. They are, and these hard-hitting defenses aren't going to get any easier when you're playing in the Big Ten.
Right.
Not going to get any easier.
I look at, I believe USC threw the ball 40 times.
Yeah, Terry doesn't have that stat up here. And
we're going to have to add it back in there some way.
You're good.
No, you're fine. But they regularly, to your point, Brian, they regularly are dropping back 35 to 40 plus times a game.
Yeah, I was about to say, when you're throwing the ball 40 times a game, how do you expect to keep up? When you've still got a young quarterback, I believe he's a sophomore this year. He's a sophomore quarterback. He's still getting, and now you're in a new conference. And you're doing that many passes, and yes, you got 173 yards running the ball, but you got to establish a run game to get him going. And clearly you're dinking and dunking to only get 200 yards on 40 attempts. Like you got to have that confidence to throw the ball a little bit more. But if you're having that confidence to throw it more, you got to be able to throw the long ball, not just here's a 5-yarder here, a 10-yarder here. You got to throw it deep. And if you're going to throw it, go for the home run if you can. But to Andrew's point,
23 for 38.
30, yeah.
38.
You're SC, you should be able to recruit receivers that are good enough to throw it up to them and let them go get it.
Exactly. Because that's what you built. You've built this team around is throwing it deep. And if you're having this struggle with Minnesota, what are you going to do when you come in and you got to play? There's still a Nebraska game on the schedule. You still got. I'm sure I don't think they play Ohio State this year, but it's either Ohio State or Penn State.
They got Penn State.
Like, it's not going to, like, to Andrew's point, it's not going to get any easier.
And they've got Penn State next, and they got Maryland, Rutgers, Washington, Nebraska. Notre Dame is on the schedule. So what do those teams have in common? Defense. You don't think the front three of Nebraska's defense is going to pin their ears back with the back three, and they're just going to fly at it into the end? I mean, Ty Robinson is going to eat up SC's offensive line, and it's not because if you're expecting that you're just going to be able to drop back and throw the ball against a good defense, you're in trouble. And we're going to talk about how good Nebraska's defense is in a minute, Terry. But forget Nebraska. They got to play Penn State. And you talk about a damn defense. Penn State is everything we expected them to be again. So, and their next game is Penn State. So, interesting.
Let's go ahead and talk about it. Rutgers at Nebraska. Nebraska walks away from Lincoln with a 14-7 victory. Tell me about it, guys.
Bryant, you're the guest. You're first.
I appreciate that. The first time all year, and I think Andrew might agree with this, Dylan looked frustrated. Like, he just looked like he didn't. It was, I don't know if it was play calling, the defensive scheme, but he just looked completely out of sorts, completely frustrated for majority of the game. You know, the first half, you know, yes, you get the late score in the first half to take that 14-0 lead, but the Rutgers defense, Greg Schiano, always has a defensive scheme ready. And it worked somewhat to perfection to confuse Dylan, but that black shirt defense that Nebraska has is just shutting everything down. You've got, you know, veterans back to help lead the charge. That, yes, it's a Rutgers offense, but, you know, Nebraska defense is everything that we thought it could be and more. So
let's just to piggyback on your point. First drive, 64 yards for Rutgers offense. They get stalled. Nebraska beats them up, stops them from scoring. They missed a field goal, I think it was. They got 14 rushing yards the rest of the game. You talk about making a defensive adjustment, because Rutgers initially was off the ball, dominating Nebraska on the line of scrimmage. When Tony White challenged his defensive line to protect that line of scrimmage and to set the tone, it was on. And, you know, they're, you know, I have in my, my little byline today, Make Williams, a black shirt, James Williams, sophomore, 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, 8 quarterback pressures, 87.7 pass rush grade. And he put the game on ice at the end of it all. He is a backup edge rusher. So, I mean, he's got a bright future, but the Nebraska defense, and Sayer Wright the same way, give him a black shirt. Passes defended. He did an excellent job. But this was, to Brian's point, and I said it, you know, I've said it on social media. I've said it to you, Terry. I've said it to you, Bryant. Dylan Raiola needed this game. He played like a freshman. He was 13 for 27. He finally threw a real interception, because the last 2 have been contested balls that got taken away from his receivers on the ground. This one was his fault. Bad read, bad block by the offensive lineman, no chip from your running back or tight end. And he looked like shit in this game, just to put it very bluntly. But he's a freshman. Now, he's a better freshman than everybody else in the country as far as the quarterback position. But he's still a freshman. The good thing is the defense came to play. Now, they have a week off. They got to play Indiana, which is undefeated. And as their coach said, look me up on Google, all I do is win. That's what he said. That's what he said.
He did.
And they're already 6-0, and they're in the top of the Big Ten. So we'll see how that goes. But the Nebraska defense, if it starts to mesh and gel together, everybody's going to have problems, because there is one team in the country that has not allowed a rushing touchdown, and it is the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Yes, it
so this is your stats from Tony White. 43 FBS defenses have forced 8+ turnovers. 16 defenses have recorded 15 sacks. 11 defenses are allowing less than 14 points a game. There's only one team in the country doing all 3, and it's Nebraska. 11.3 points a game, 20 sacks, and 10 turnovers. By the way, through 6 games, they're +7 in the turnover margin. This time last year, they were -6. So a 13 turnover swing, and all of a sudden the team's 5-1 and lost a very close game to Illinois they shouldn't have lost in overtime. This is what was supposed to happen. You listen to me for 9 months on this program talk about football in Nebraska. This is what was supposed to happen. They still have their loss coming to Ohio State, but every other game is winnable on the schedule.
Exactly.
Every other game. Did you not put Ohio State and Iowa on this list, Terry? Is this the last year? I don't know. Look, it was 7-0 and it looked ugly, and then Ohio State did what they did and they blew the doors off Iowa. 35-7.
And I
Yeah,
guess
mean,
that was the reason I didn't. I mean, they were probably on the first list. I normally put like 15, and then I go, okay, which 5 games do I take off? So they were probably one of those.
well, and Iowa has a good defense, but Ohio State, they made that second half adjustments, and they come out and they put it on them. I do not expect Nebraska to win against Ohio State in Columbus at the Horseshoe. But when you ask me who's going to win that game that weekend, it's going to be Nebraska in the Horseshoe
Right.
by 3 because I ain't picking against my boys.
Well, you don't want to pick against them and then they go win because then you look really foolish.
I'll never pick against them. I'm like the guy out of The Hangover. I'll never change. Never, ever, ever.
All right, this is the last game on the list. Why don't we go ahead and talk about the Week 6 top 10? And as always, thanks everybody for voting. We really appreciate it, and we'll let you know what we think about it. Number 10, Alabama Crimson Tide after their loss to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, our voters didn't like that loss very much, did they?
I was about to say, it seems very big of a drop there for Alabama.
Yeah, they dropped, I think, to 7 in the AP poll. Is that right, Terry?
7 in the AP poll,
7 in the AP poll.
Right.
They got South Carolina. South Carolina's got a couple good edge rushers. They got a couple good running back. I don't want to preview too much of the game, but South Carolina
going to get grumpy Alabama is what they're going to get.
But they're going to get really grumpy Alabama.
Yes.
In Tuscaloosa. So.
But then the week later, we're going Alabama at Tennessee on the 19th.
The Rocky Top.
Fantastic.
And, well, in that same weekend, Texas invites Georgia to town in Austin.
Oh, nice.
So, anyway, who's number 9, Terry?
Number 9 is Tennessee after their loss at Arkansas, 19-14. And they've got their big rivalry game against Florida this week.
Yeah, we've got a little bias here. Alabama's a better football team than Tennessee.
I was about to say Tennessee should be below Alabama in my opinion too.
It's definitely that Vandy. It was Vandy is a major factor.
That makes a lot of sense there.
Yeah, but now they're playing Florida, and Florida, of course, coming off the win against Gus. Damn it, Terry, losing games he's supposed to win. Gus was supposed to beat the Gators, but he did not. Yeah,
we've seen it before.
Terry says we've seen this movie. I've got this ticket stubs. I can prove it.
That's right.
But yeah, Tennessee gearing up for Florida. I don't think this is going to be quite the game. And you talk about pissed off Alabama, you go get pissed off Tennessee this week.
That's right.
Yep.
And it's at the Rocky Top. It's at home. So,
yep.
All right, let's go number 8, Clemson, because they really played pretty well after that big, massive loss in the first week to Georgia.
Go ahead, Brian. No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I think they've hit. I would say getting off that Georgia loss, you get that taste out of your mouth. They're kind of hitting a stride again. They're going back to, trying to let the quarterback take control of the team. Klubick, like I said, he's taking control. He's helping them out. They got to finish. Andrew's point from earlier. If they can finish, I think they can get back in this and probably be a top 5 team by the end of the year.
And if you look at the schedule that's coming up, they got Louisville. At Virginia Tech, I don't know. Week to week, I don't know what Virginia Tech is. At Pittsburgh, so that's going to be a test a little bit.
They've got a very manageable schedule, but they need to hope that some of these teams continue to show out, like your Pittsburgh, like your Louisville, like Virginia Tech, because otherwise, if it's just dog walking all these teams, they're going to end up in the 4 position if they win the ACC. If they don't, they're going to end up in the 11 or 12 position by getting voted in as the second team. Mm-hmm. I think at Virginia Tech is a problem because Blacksburg is a problem.
Yeah, yes.
I think Virginia Tech's a lot better football team than their record. I think at Pittsburgh, this is for Mike Bober, is a problem because they have a very fundamentally sound quarterback. Yes. They have a very good defense, and they are not somebody anybody's talking about. So Bober, tell everybody on ESPN to shut the fuck up about Pittsburgh because you don't want the attention.
Yep.
You don't want the attention. You want to quietly continue to win football games. So, but yeah, Clemson has a very manageable means to they're playing the Citadel for God's sake. And Virginia, must have balled out this week to actually win a football game. So anyway, that's where I'm at.
Number 7, Ole Miss. They had the loss to Kentucky a couple of weeks ago, but they put it on South Carolina on the road this week. So they're back.
Should have been bigger than 27-3 too. They left opportunities to score on the table.
I was
If they
just
go
about
to
say,
LSU.
Yeah, going to LSU is going to be another big one this week. So, but I'm with Andrew. I thought they'd really kind of just run it up against South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dart is still doing good things out on the field, but it just kind of seemed like they were still kind of in a lull from shock of losing to Kentucky a little bit.
By far the best win they have. I mean, up until they played Kentucky, we had that same thing about fool's gold. But, I mean, that South Carolina game, a little more confidence in Ole Miss going forward after that, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Might be Mike, but the defense is getting the stops when they need them. So that's what matters most. And I'm surprised he's still around as many losses as Narduzzi has had, to be honest, even though he came from Michigan State. He's got a good pedigree. Yeah, the LSU game we're going to preview. So I'll hold my comments about Brian Kelly and his overrated ass for then.
All right, let's look at number 6. We got Georgia at number 6. Oof. I think they're a little higher in the AP. I think they're number 5 in the AP. Above
they're number 5 in the AP. Yeah, we got some haters. Terry.
I think people voted undefeated and then one loss. I think that's what we had.
Cassie's how it looks, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and rightfully so when you look at the 3 Big Ten teams and the 1 SEC team, I would argue. I think that's correct.
They got Mississippi State this week.
Georgia's a number 5 team to me, though. This is a team that's complete. This is a team that got beat by Alabama. They had 3 turnovers. They had a bad break there at the end. Poor defensive coverage against the best wide receiver in the country at 17 years old. I don't give a shit. Ryan Williams can go. Georgia is still a playoff team, probably still an SEC championship game team. This is far from over. And by the way, the 40-game streak or whatever it was of regular season, it's over now. All that pressure's off. Just go play football. And to your point, Terry, Mississippi State, ever since Mike Leach died, they haven't been able to get it together. And this isn't the game they're going to get it together in Athens. So, bye-bye.
All right, let's look at the top 5. Number 5, Penn State, and they head to USC this week. And Penn State doesn't really have that marquee win so far this season. USC would definitely be the best win so far.
Yeah, the UCLA game, they scored UCLA just because it said 27-11, kind of a weird score. They scored inside the last few minutes of the game, that 8 points. It was garbage time. But Penn State had a lot of control. UCLA didn't do a lot of things wrong, but they couldn't get to the end zone. That was the biggest problem they had. And you're going to see that with these defenses. It's the old Indiana head coach who's the DC now. And Franklin always seems to find these guys that put together these great defenses, whether it be Manny Diaz or I forget who the Tom something is his name, but he was the old Indiana head coach. He's now the defensive coordinator there at Penn State. But anyway, yeah, this Penn State is just starting to get warmed up because they got USC bye week, but then they get Wisconsin, Ohio State, Washington. Purdue will be lucky their coach makes it through the season. Minnesota, Maryland to finish it out. So
I say they don't have a marquee win, but that 21-7 against Illinois is pretty respectable there. Yeah,
Illinois is probably their best win to date so far because at the time, even though they were a ranked team at the time, so it's a better win on the resume for sure.
Yeah,
agreed. Right.
Let's look at the top 4. We got number 4 Miami.
Trash
at 6-0, and they get a bye this week.
Yeah,
but they're going to have to go to Louisville, and that might be a game that sneaks up on them here.
As a Nebraska fan that watched Miami steal national championships from Dr. Tom, trash, absolute trash. As somebody who's watched the last 2 weeks them be beneficiaries of bad officiating, trash. Yeah, Louisville, Florida State, Duke. I would love Florida State, one of their 5 wins to be against Miami. That would I'm okay with that. That would be fine with me.
I think we all would on that one. Yeah. Most of us at least. I don't meet a lot of Miami fans. Do they exist?
I don't think so.
Bober says James Franklin always chokes in the big games. I don't know if it's choking Bober, but he's been the number 3 team in the Big Ten
Yeah.
for his very long coaching career. He's been at Penn State since 2014. So
He loses the games he's supposed to lose.
He loses the games he's supposed to win.
Yep.
And or they're not even supposed to win them. He loses the games he has to win. Because let's face it, ain't nobody going to fuss at him for beating the other 8 teams or 9 teams he faces every year.
Yep.
But when you play Michigan and you play Ohio State, that's it. But if they do it correctly, this year the Ohio State game will be a whiteout because it'll be at night.
Yep.
Unless they pull the Big 12 noon card bullshit, which is awful. Because that game needs to be a night game in Beaver Stadium, 108,000. Oh, and in case you missed it, Terry, fuck Miami. Who's number 3? Who's number 3?
Number 3 is Oregon.
Quack quack.
5-0, but they got a game against Ohio State this weekend, and we're really going to learn a lot about both of those teams.
So Dylan Gabriel this past week threw 2 touchdowns or threw 2 interceptions in the end zone that should have been touchdowns. Oregon should have beat Michigan State 45-10, 48-10. They left points on the board. Guess what you cannot do against the Buckeyes, whether it's in Eugene or Columbus, don't leave points on the board. You better score. You better, and don't throw, like, Michigan State's defense is respectable. Ohio State's defense is elite.
Right.
So you throw interceptions against them, they're going to make you pay for it.
No,
but that's going to be the game of the week.
Oh, absolutely. And Oregon slowly, they keep having too many slow starts too. Like, it's the first few drives are always stall outs, and then all of a sudden they pick it up. You can't have that going in later in the year. You got to be consistent throughout the entire game, not just, we'll pick it up later. That's where Gabriel's got to find that rhythm and get better acquainted and figure it out faster, truthfully.
Yeah.
They got several teams on the road coming up, too. I mean, I know they got Ohio State at home, but they're at Michigan and at Wisconsin. Both of those teams, if you're going to do that, they may not let you back in it. They got enough defense to do something.
I want to know what happens when they go to Wisconsin and there's a foot of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
And I want to see how they play then.
And in fourth quarter, people are screaming jump around and the stadium's vibrating, and I mean the whole deal.
Yeah.
It's an experience, apparently.
Yeah.
Number 2, Ohio State.
Yep.
Headed to Oregon this week. They are 5-0. They put it on everybody they played. And I mean, they beat Iowa 35-7. So this is not just them playing a bunch of cupcakes, but Oregon's the best team so far.
Michigan State's a good football team. Iowa is a good football team defensively. Oregon's going to be the most complete football team they've seen.
Right.
But as I've said last week and the week before, Terry, they're in the teeth of their schedule. Iowa, Oregon, bye. Nebraska, Penn State. Because Nebraska's the team nobody wants to play.
Yep.
They've got the defense that nobody wants to play, and they've got a quarterback with really, really, really good talent beyond his 19 years of age. But Dylan Gabriel has a ton of experience. Oregon can run the ball. They can pressure. They can play defense. Will they? That's the question. Because to Brian's point, if you start slow against Ohio State, you have to match score for score. You cannot get behind scoring against Chip Kelly's offense because it will be a bad day for you. And once, let's face it, because I didn't get to make the joke earlier, Terry, once Ohio State went up 14-0 against Iowa, it's fucking over.
Oh, yeah.
Because Iowa's not built for a comeback.
God, no. God, no.
They're not built to score 14 points.
No.
Number 1, Texas Longhorns. Like we said, they were sitting at home watching the SEC crumble around them. But they've got a big rivalry game this week with Oklahoma, and they follow that up with Georgia. Then they go to Vandy, and who knows?
I'm playing at Vandy, who knows at this point? So,
2 of the best games of the season are coming up in the next 2 weeks, and that's gonna, for them.
And they end at Texas A&M, and if an A&M can keep playing like they have been, who knows?
Renew the
Do
rivalry.
we know
yeah.
do we know if Ewers is playing this week or if it's going to be Arch? Has it been announced?
Ewers is a game time decision, but right now he is the starter. He has been named by Sarkisian, but he says he's still playing it by ear. But right now he named him the starter.
What a luxury!
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, to me, I think, and I have some friends who are Texas fans. I still think you play Arch tonight for this game. You don't put Ewers is been out, hurt. How's that Russ going to play, especially going into the rivalry game? Manning's been hot. He's been playing good. Keep with the hot hand for right now. Give Ewers, make sure he's got plenty of time to be ready, because you don't want to rush him back and risk another injury here.
Yep,
that's right. And they got Georgia next. So I mean, if you can rest him and still win this rivalry game against Oklahoma, maybe have him ready in case.
I'd rather have him ready for Georgia than have him ready for this one.
That's
truthfully.
Right. But you're right, it's a luxury. And they had a third guy that even transferred out last year. So they know what they're doing out there with the recruiting. Let me run it down. Number 10, Alabama. Number 9, Tennessee. Number 8, Clemson. Number 7, Ole Miss. Number 6, Georgia. Number 5, Penn State. Number 4, Miami. Number 3, Oregon. Number 2, Ohio State. And sitting at the top, the Texas Longhorns. And that's after week 6. Let's look forward to week 7. We got some games here that we're going to talk about. Let's start it off with South Carolina at Alabama. Alabama favored by 3 touchdowns. I don't think that's nearly enough.
Not now.
I think it's 30 points here.
that's my number.
I'm going with it this time.
But agree.
I didn't go with it with Texas A&M last week, and I should have.
This team is going to be hot, motivated. I mean, and DeBoer knows how to get him to win. He's won everywhere he's been. South Carolina is going to be outgunned and outclassed.
Completely agree. I don't think, and kind of like Terry's point from earlier, you're going to get a pissed off Alabama team, and nobody's ready for pissed off Alabama.
No.
Not at all.
Nope.
All right,
Washington
next game,
and
Saturday
Iowa.
at noon, Washington, if I can say Washington correctly, Washington at Iowa. Iowa favored by 2.5.
That surprises me.
I don't know what they're expecting that score to be. If Iowa wins by 3, I mean, what's that, 10-7? They're going to hold Washington to 7?
It's possible. They've got a very suffocating defense.
do.
McNamara is not the answer they were looking for, though. If Washington gets up a couple scores, I made the joke earlier, but the Iowa offense is not – it might be better than it was with Brian Ferentz there, but it's not that much better. And they play great defense. That's what I can say about Iowa. They have a coach who's been there forever. That's what I can say about Iowa. As respectfully as possible. You know what your problem is year after year, that you don't score and you don't fix it. Fuck you. So, I'm going Washington in this one simply because they can score. And they stopped Michigan.
I'll say Washington by a touchdown here.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Texas OU, Red River Shootout, Terry. Used to call it the Red River Rivalry. Probably sounds too violent. Red River Shootout, bang, bang. Texas at Oklahoma, not a 12 o'clock kick. They're doing this one at 3:30 in the afternoon, which for the college football traditionalists like myself, this used to be the 12 o'clock game out of the Cotton Bowl very regularly.
No,
so,
didn't it used to be like 10 in the morning or something? Like
Well-
really early, even before games normally start? I thought they did that super early.
I would say
thought it was
12
always an
Eastern.
I thought it was always a noon game. Like
Okay.
it was always the first game out of the box. Yeah.
Well, because you'd always see it because Stoops would dominate Texas when he was at Oklahoma.
Yep.
Texas doesn't lose this game. The offensive line of Oklahoma is problematic. You're going to see a nice pass rush. Whether it's Ewers or it's Arch, they're going to have opportunities against Oklahoma. This is going to be the very best football team that Oklahoma has seen at this point, and they're not going to win this football game. Texas, big. I'll take Texas by 17. And I know it's a rivalry game. They're that good, though. This is the
If-
same Texas team, by the way, same Texas coach. 2 years ago, blanked Oklahoma 49-0. I don't expect to see that.
Yeah.
But I certainly expect a pretty lopsided affair.
Texas coming in for revenge from last year, coming off that Red River rivalry there. And Jackson Arnold, the quarterback at OU, is not going to know what hit him. Like he's been all right, but like this is a whole different animal. Texas is good. I don't think it's even close this year. Honestly, I think Texas just kind of handles them perfect, just neatly, not even close throughout the whole game.
I'll go with Texas by 20. And you're right. I think there's revenge here. Obviously, this is a neutral site game. They don't do the at anybody.
Mhm.
So even though Oklahoma's shown as a home team, they don't have to worry about going to Norman. So
No. And
I
they
think
split that
20.
stadium perfectly, 50-50, which I
Yeah.
always appreciate.
Yeah, I think Texas is too strong. That's all. I think it's too strong. And
This
it looks
next-
like this year Oklahoma's the home team. But that really
Yeah, I
doesn't
think
matter.
so.
It doesn't matter
Right.
there, yeah.
Doesn't
Because you're still at the
matter.
Cotton Bowl, so.
Right. So this is an interesting Big Ten matchup here. Penn State at USC Saturday at 3:30. Penn State favored on the road by 3.5. This should be interesting.
To me,
Bryant?
the interesting part is what USC team's going to show up.
Yeah.
Are you going to get the team that's going to be competitive and can keep up, or are you going to get the team that we've been seeing, which is I'm just going to huck the ball around the field and hope something happens? Because if they want it to be competitive, if they want to compete, they can do it. It's just I think USC still does not know how to. They're used to playing track meets in the Pac-12, and defense is something the Big Ten prides itself on. And Penn State is on a roll, knowing they've got, they're looking at this as the tune-up to get ready for Ohio State. Let's just be honest here. And I think Penn State's going to go in, and I think they're going to handle it. Seeing it's 3.5 kind of surprises me, but I think it might be like maybe a touchdown, maybe 10 points for Penn State.
Yeah, I think a touchdown Penn State was what I was going with there. I think SC, hopefully they bounce back and play pretty well. I'd like to see a good game here, but I think Penn State's just good, and they're going to go on the road and win this.
Yeah, I was trying to find Penn State's blitzing percentage, and here's why. If you're SC and you think you're going to drop back against this particular defense, you are crazy. They're going to have to move the pocket. They're going to have to bootleg. They're going to have to successfully run the ball and get some play action. And by the way, their quarterback's going to have to hit. Also, this is going to be the most physical football team that SC has played this year.
Yep.
This is not playing in the Pac-12. This is a very big, strong, fast, disciplined defense that is playing SC in the Coliseum. I'll give them that. I get that. Like that can't be understated. But this is an opportunistic defense, and if you drop back 38 times and you let's say SC gets down 2 touchdowns, and all of a sudden you're just going to start throwing the ball, they're going to pin their ears back and they're coming. And that's not going to work, because then SC's going to do one of two things. They're going to get hit and fumble the ball, or they're going to get the ball intercepted. And I just think Penn State's got way too much in the tank. I get the Coliseum's a hard place to play. I get Lincoln Riley's enjoyed his success. SC, again, overrated. I'm taking Penn State by 21 full points this game.
Wow.
Wow.
All right,
Defense
let's
wins
move on to the
championship.
next game. ACC game, 3:30 in the afternoon. Cal at Pitt, and this is an opportunity. I think Cal obviously doesn't have a great record this year. They even got beat by Florida State, but I think this is Pitt's opportunity to make a statement here. They've done well up until this point with their schedule, but I think Cal can give them a game, and they need to handle this if they're really going to show up and be something in the ACC. They got to handle this. Pitt is favored by 2.5 at home. I'll go Pitt by a touchdown.
Pitt's been doing great. Pitt's on a roll, and if you're Cal and you blew a 25-point lead versus Miami, a team you had, how are you going to respond is the real question here.
Yep.
And, a part of the theme of a lot of games from last week was closing. Can they close the game and finish strong? And I don't know if they can do, and how are they going to react going from West Coast, to, East Coast? You're looking at that time difference too. Are they going to be able to handle time difference and playing all these East Coast teams now? And that's the real question. And I just think Pitt's rolling right now. So I like Pitt myself as well. So
I was just looking at this. Defensively, Holstein is your quarterback's name for Pitt.
Mhm.
We don't have any numbers on him, Terry, but he's 112 for 171, 1564 on the yardage, 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So he's having a great season.
Mhm.
Cal, as we know, is a very good pass defense.
Right.
That they spanked Auburn a little bit that way. They gave Miami all they wanted that way. It depends on how many times Pitt drops back, what their run game looks like, and those sort of things. I think man for man, hat for hat, Pittsburgh is the better football team. I just think they're the better football team. But I think Cal's going to make this fun.
Mhm.
So give me Pittsburgh by 6.
All right. Then we head to Knoxville, the big rivalry game, Florida at Tennessee, and Tennessee is going to be pissed off, and Florida doesn't have it this year, even with the win against Gus.
Does that say 15 or 16 and a half?
15 and a half.
It might as well
Tennessee
say
favored
50.
by 15 and a half.
Might as well
Right.
say 50. The Gators are awful this year.
Yeah, I think
Oh.
Tennessee at this point, Tennessee by 24 is where I'm going with this.
So truthfully, I looked at this as a trap game for Tennessee because they've got Bama coming up the following week. And I thought this would be Tennessee maybe overlooking Florida, and Florida might get lucky. Might.
Yeah.
But then Tennessee lost to Arkansas, and I changed my entire tune, and Tennessee's going to be completely pissed off and just want to punish Florida, not just because it's the rivalry game, but just be mad about how that game went. And yeah, I agree. Tennessee's just going to – we'll see how many points – let's see how much they can light up the scoreboard come Saturday is a real thing here. So
21 points. Tennessee. Rocky Top. Josh Heifel's going to have a great game plan. They're going to execute. They're going to be able, because Florida has a weaker offensive line, be able to get some pressures on their quarterbacks, whichever one it is, if not both of Florida. Really, really, really disappointed in Tennessee's performance against Arkansas because I'm very high on Josh Heifel and the offensive firepower he has. And let's face it, Arkansas showed no signs of having that defense any other time this year. So I'm going Tennessee by 3 touchdowns and another loss for Billy Napier so that he can get fired by the end of the season.
yes.
All right, then the big one is next. Ohio State visits Eugene. Ohio State's favored by 3.5. I got my thoughts, but I'll let you guys go first here. What do you think, Brian?
This is the fun part. This is the fun game for me because Oregon and Ohio State, through history, have always played close games. And to me, it's going to come down to, is Will Howard going to get time to throw the ball? And if he can have time to kind of just make his plays, I mean, you've got one of the best receivers in the country playing for you. I mean, he had the one-handed catch he had versus Iowa there for one of the touchdowns just kind of shows you that he has the faith in them to go make the plays, and he's just got to go put the ball in the right spot. It's going to come down to, if Oregon starts slow, can they keep up? And I don't know. The only benefit they're going to have is you're in Eugene. Being in Eugene is going to create an environment that Will Howard hasn't seen before. Playing at Kansas State, yes, you've got big games there, but nothing like this. I think it's close to the end, though. I think it's going to kind of come down to a track meet a little bit. But I personally, and I hope don't offend Andrew with this, but I'm going to go Ohio State by 1. By just 1, though.
Terry, you can go ahead.
Okay, I think Ohio State's going to make a statement here. And I think they kind of been lingering there. They haven't been talked about as much as they deserve. They haven't had that game yet. I think this is that game, and I think they win it by 2 touchdowns.
Terry stole my thunder. Dylan Gabriel is going to make mistakes Ohio State's going to take advantage of. You cannot do that against a $25 million football team coached by very good coaches in Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, and the rest. Defensively, Ohio State's bigger, stronger, and more physical. It is in Eugene, which matters, which means this game stays close for the first half. The halftime adjustments are where you're going to see Ryan Day and Chip Kelly pull away from Oregon. I'm going Oregon losing in Eugene in what could be a preview of the Big Ten championship game. But I'm going by 20. Ohio State dominant makes the statement going for first against Texas. And this is the game they need to do it in.
Yes.
All right. Let's move down to the SEC. A 7:30 kick in Baton Rouge. Ole Miss is coming to town, and Ole Miss is favored by 3.5. I'll go first this time. And I know that you're going to disagree with me here, Andrew. I think LSU wins this game by 4 points. I think we're sleeping on LSU. And I know we don't love the coach, but I think LSU is a little better than we're giving them credit for.
Brian?
I do think LSU is coming along, but I just think Ole Miss has the team still. And not having Alabama on the schedule, this is kind of one of the next big tests that Ole Miss has to get through to help them get to that SEC championship game they think they can make. But I just think this is, yes, it's in Death Valley, but I just think Ole Miss has the team. Dart is still making the plays they need to when they need to make them. He's been sluggish the last couple games, but I still think this is his chance to kind of break out of it. And why not do it in Death Valley when just kind of embarrass LSU a little bit here?
Ole Miss is led by Big Lane Kiffin, Big Game Lane. One of the most creative offensive minds in football. Knows how to spread you out. Knows how to find the weaknesses in your defense. He got out-coached in Fayetteville, Arkansas this past week. He will not get out-coached in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and his team will not get outplayed. I'm taking Ole Miss by 13 in this one, and Death Valley is huge. It's loud. It's a night game, whatever. This is their statement win that sets the tone for the rest of their season. As far as I'm concerned, Brian Kelly is a horrible coach. Their defense is not good and has problems with it. Nussmeier is not Daniels. By the way, Terry, in case you wondered, the Washington Commanders, not Redskins, are 4-1 with the former Heisman or the Heisman Trophy winner, former quarterback at LSU at the helm. So he is as good as you and I thought he was, and responsible for those wins that LSU had. But they still don't have defense. They're still playing another team that got beat by somebody they should have just, obliterated. Ole Miss bounces back. They're going to win this one by 2 scores, 13 points.
All right, let's move along to Iowa State at West Virginia, Saturday at 8. Iowa State favored by 3.5. West Virginia is a team I don't like picking because they can show up and be good, and then they can stink it up too. They're not consistent. Iowa State has been good so far. They're undefeated. I think they end up staying undefeated and win this by a touchdown.
Yeah, I think Iowa State is very much disrespected right now. And the best way to earn the respect of college football is to continue to win and to make a statement. Morgantown, West Virginia is a very difficult place to win football games, as we've discussed on this show. West Virginia, to your point, Terry, you don't know which team you're going to face. You don't know which one you're getting. I'm going Iowa State by 10. I really liked their scheme, their program there. And I think they have to find a game that they can say, this is Iowa State football.
Right.
And this could be a great game to do that on because it is West Virginia. It is Morgantown. Very difficult place to win football games, no matter the record of West Virginia.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I think the one thing Iowa State has found this year a little bit more is defense. They've been playing really strong defense. I mean, I think even with playing Iowa, they gave up 19. Yes, it's Iowa. Fun story there. But, I mean, I think the most points they've given up so far was last week with Baylor, and that was 21. And that was just some garbage time TDs. I mean, they've even shut out some teams this year. Defense is something they haven't had that well before, and I think they finally have found their defensive stride. And the offense has been just playing on a different level as well. And they've got the team. They've got I'm not going to call it a complete team, but they've got a well-rounded team that this could be helping launch them to finally take that Big 12 step. Now without Texas and Oklahoma, they've got the chance to finally win that Big 12 with, Big Brother's gone.
Agreed.
All right. Well, let's move on to the last game we're going to predict. And I will go ahead and say this.
You do this to me, hold on, every week.
What?
We have to find a reason to talk about Deion Sanders, and you've done it again.
Well,
look at the kickoff time, Terry. Look at the
no,
kickoff
that's what I'm going to complain about. This is in Colorado. Why the hell is this a 10-15 kick in Colorado?
Yeah.
This is not a West Coast game.
No, it's a mountain time game.
Yeah.
Kansas State by 14. Fuck Colorado.
And here's the thing: if Deion, this is Deion's opportunity to show up, and actually, I think this is the one game if he wants to establish himself toward the top of the Big 12. He's got to play good in this game, but I don't think they have it because I think Kansas State is the team here. We talked about the other big teams at the top falling down, but I think Kansas State is the team that reaps the rewards from that. And I'll go Kansas State by a touchdown.
I agree with that. I think Kansas State is finding a stride, and the offense is slowly getting there. Like, they've been playing great defense as well. It's another thing, kind of like Iowa State. They play good defense, but the offense is slowly getting there. And if they can control the clock and keep the ball on the ground and run the game and have a good run game, which is what they've been doing right now, they've been running the ball really well. You keep that time of possession in your favor. You keep Shedeur Sanders off the field. You're gonna have the game in your hand. So I agree. I think Kansas State by a touchdown.
Yeah, so I said 14, fuck Colorado, but the reason for that is their offensive line is going to have Shedeur running for his life.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knows how you beat Colorado now, and that's by putting the pressure and breaking the pocket, a couple double gap blitzes, a safety blitz, 5 in the box, overloads. This is Kansas State football. Bryant can tell you, I've told you before, Terry, Nebraska hated seeing the Kansas State on the schedule, and it was because they presented such a different way to play football under Schneider and the rest. This is a different Kansas State team, but they still play defense. Right. And I get that it's in Boulder. I get that it's a 10-15 kick time, which is silly. But I think K-State, they've lost the first game, and now they have really just kind of found who they are. And I don't think I 100% believe and respect the idea that Shedeur and Hunter are NFL material. Now, Hunter more than Shedeur, in my opinion, and that's a character thing. That's not even got to do with their playing ability. But if, to Bryant's point, you control the clock, you run the ball, you're going to keep him off the field. The other way you get him frazzled is you get to him. Nebraska put him on his ass 6 times, and Hunter was frustrated throwing things. Shedeur was mad. Shedeur left the game. You can get him to tap out. Get your defense to put him on his ass. That's how you win against Colorado.
Yep.
And if you stay up late, that's what we expect you to see this weekend.
No.
All right, there's our picks for the Week 7 games. But speaking of picks for the Week 7 games, here's the current standings for the College Pick'em. Bryant, thank you for not picking those 3 games that week.
Yep.
You've helped us get a little bit closer to you, but Brian is still in the lead. Bober and I don't know if Bober's still in the chat, but you and I, buddy, we're tied. I'm gonna get that second place from you this week, bud. All the
How
rest
in the
of
hell did you all not shit the bed last week with the SEC just becoming a complete dumpster fire?
I don't know. I got to go back and look. See
I
who
got very
picked for.
lucky. I don't know. I got very lucky on a few of those games because I picked a couple upsets on the board that they had. So
Yeah, I picked
Well,
A
and
and
that's
M.
a lot different than picking. I've said this before. The ESPN games are different than the ones we pick on this
Yeah.
show.
yes.
And some
and
of them
yeah,
are just like, who are
Bober
these
went
teams?
4 and 6. I went 3 and 7, and I'm usually never that far off on football. I say usually never. I'm usually not that far off, but I mean, I never thought Arkansas would beat Tennessee or Vandy would beat Alabama, or
No.
I think the other pick was the third SEC game. It was Missouri. That was the one. It was Missouri and A&M. I didn't expect A&M to win by 30 points.
Nope.
That's crazy. Also, speaking of what's crazy, because the NCAA is not a fun league. Bryant was 4 and 6. Terry was 5 and 5. Well, Bober apparently is invested in the results of this, Terry, because you went 5 and 5 and Bryant went 4 and 6. He's keeping track of y'all.
He's keeping tabs for us. I appreciate that.
Oh,
Bober.
he's
Thank
letting
you.
us know. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I
Yeah,
picked
he
it against
Bober's
UNC.
got it. But did you guys see Vandy stormed the field? They got fined $250,000, and by the SEC, and Arkansas stormed the field for the second time, so they got fined $500,000, I think it was, or maybe it was $500,000 and $100,000, or $250,000, $100,000.
Yeah, it was a $250,000.
SEC, go fuck yourselves. That is absolutely absurd. Vanderbilt deserves to storm the field and go down Broadway and all of that stuff in Nashville because they ain't never going to beat Alabama again. And as for Auburn, Arkansas, and Tennessee, Arkansas, they ain't got nothing better to do in Fayetteville. Leave them the hell alone. But they're fining them $250,000 because they stormed the field.
And Vanderbilt, because they're geniuses, got the field goal post back and are now cutting it up and auctioning it off, and all the money is going to pay the fine. Geniuses in Nashville as well.
Well, that's what Terry says. Vanderbilt exists in the SEC simply to keep the GPA up.
I believe that.
I was listening to somebody, I don't remember who it was. They were talking about it's a real shame that Nashville doesn't have a really good college football team because it would be a great college football town if they had somebody other than Vanderbilt. But then, sure enough, they beat Alabama.
A week like this, yeah.
Yeah, and it'll never happen again. That's my point. Just let them have their fun because it'll never happen again.
Agreed.
It's that once in a lifetime win, and the same with I about said Auburn again. Damn it, Arkansas and Tennessee.
Yeah,
just let it happen. Get over. Because look, Brian, I don't know about you, but God forbid. Well, actually, God help us. If somehow Nebraska beats Ohio State in the horseshoe, and the Husker fans storm the field, fine us whatever amount of money you want because we will pay the fine.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it.
Every booster we have will walk in with a check immediately going, how much we need to write this for?
Right.
You're fine.
I want to see either Hutmaker or Robinson plant the black shirt flag in the middle of the freaking Ohio State Buckeye field the way Baker did it back when he played for Oklahoma. But this time make that shit stick. Just bam, plant it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's what I'm hoping for.
Well, all right. It's been a good show, guys. And we went over, but it was worth it because we had Bryant here with us. A lot of good discussion on both shows. We thank everybody for voting as always and for tuning in. All the comments, Bober, and then we had Mike Whitaker and Devin was on here. So thanks everybody. A lot of Syracuse fans in the messages today.
One lost team, aren't they? I think so.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
McCord's a
Yeah.
good quarterback. He got fired from Ohio State for going 11-1.
Right.
Exactly.
So
But thanks, everybody. Been a great show. Thanks, Allison, if you're still awake at this
Nah, we
point.
lulled
she
her
has
ass to sleep.
possibly fallen asleep. But anybody, obviously you, Andrew, anybody else that may be in the path of these storms, hunker down, stay safe, get out of there if you need to. Don't try to brave it out because it's not worth it.
this one's headed for the Florida Friends, Terry. We are out of it almost entirely, it looks like, unless it makes a radical shift. But you guys know I do Paving the Way with Medusa. She
Right.
will not be on the show tomorrow night because they are planning to evacuate if they haven't done already. 15-foot surges inland, Category 5 storm, 180 mile an hour sustained winds. It will go over 2/3 of Florida. It is going to be devastating to the state of Florida. So thoughts and prayers to them. And I mean that genuinely. And, the worst part is we're talking inside of 14 days, 2 major hurricanes. So it's going to be bad in the state of Florida. That's where all of our concentration is this week.
All right, thoughts and prayers out to you. And like he said, we really mean that when we say that. Those aren't just the words we throw out and forget about it. Thank you, Bryant, for coming on. It's been fun. You'll have to come back. We'll
Yes.
see how these predictions go and see if Bober and I can catch up with you. Maybe you need to forget to pick some games again. That'll help us out.
Let's put it out here, Terry. If it's not you, the regular season winner, or me, I guess I could be on it. But if the regular season winner will get to come on and pick the college football playoffs with us.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent.
More motivation. Yes.
That's right. Well, thanks, everybody. It's a little late. I'm going to go get some sleep. But as I always say at the end of this show, be a champ in everything you do this week. See you later, everybody.